Folks, you got to have an amazing theme song.
Yes,
If you don't have an amazing theme song, you got nothing. Hey, can you
that
play
is
that
true.
scene, sir? Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Producer, can you please play that scene from Gone in 60 Seconds? It's called Gone in 60 Seconds Lowrider scene. You know? Gives you the right energy.
It's
And
like a 1 minute video.
1 minute. This is gonna lead you like straight into a very important Torah thing.
Mm. Look, if there's an ad. What's this an ad?
Bad man. Thanks. Thanks for doing that. Keep it real. Think slow. We should get through it just fine. Hello, Ryder, Donnie. Donnie, hello, Ryder.
All my friends know the low rider. The low rider is a little higher.
Okay, let's ride.
It's like Mike Tyson, you know, he goes, I love this part. Right?
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
All right. So you got to have the right song to get your spirit started, you know, to get your mind channeled and focused and to bring your spirit into and your emotions into it. You can't just start from nothing. You need you need a propellant.
Yeah.
Right? I learned that from Bart Sadok. When he's meditating, when he's trying to make a sense, you know, you have to get your energy up.
Yeah.
So he said his song is Highway Star by Deep Purple.
Nice,
That's how he gets revved up to
nice.
do the meditations. Can we play that for a moment? Maybe like 30 seconds of it. I'm not sure if people really
You know,
understand what
it's
we're talking
funny.
about.
I was doing, from his book. I was doing the meditations from his book today,
Yeah.
and I did them once in the morning, once in the afternoon today. Uh, Here, Highway Star, 1972, Deep Purple.
Right.
And so there's moments where I find myself like it's difficult for me to get into the
Get into the groove.
sometimes I feel like just saying the word it's like these special meditations. It's like it's abbreviations, Rosh Tever of
Yeah.
the verses from the Torah, and I feel like just saying them gets me into it. I feel like it's like fake it till you make it. Like I start saying them, and it'll get me into like a
Well,
and
listen, the prophets of old, they would sing themselves
yeah,
into,
yeah,
and they would play music and they would
yeah,
dance
yeah,
until they got into the right headspace.
yeah. So
And
this is
you totally missed my Madonna joke, but it's
oh,
fine.
what was your Madonna joke?
Get into the
Yes,
groove first.
yes. You got to prove your love to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody gonna take my car, I'm gonna race into the ground. Nobody gonna beat my car, it's gonna break the speeding sound. Oh, it's a killing machine, it's got everything. I can drive the power, big fat tires and everything. I love it, and I need it, I need it. Yeah, it's a wild thing. All right, hold tight. I'm a highway star. Nobody gonna take my girl, I'm gonna keep her to the end. Nobody gonna have my girl, she stays close on everywhere. Oh, she's a killing machine, she got everything. Like a moving mouth, body control and everything.
We get the point.
I
By the
could let
way,
I could let
yeah,
that song play because
yeah, of course.
I also love Highway Star, especially when it
Can,
drives.
can I just say something? First of all, Bart Sadok, I just found out his age. He was born in 1957, which means that he was 15 years old when the song. Imagine being 15 when that song comes out on the radio.
That's exactly what see
You
that
will
yeah.
be nuclearized.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He grew up on Long Island, like
Yeah, yeah.
so that makes sense that this is the song that gets.
Driving a hammy, you know?
Oh, can we show that clip of the 1982 what high school students were sitting in the Cadillac in
Oh,
New
that kid in the New Utrecht. You watched
Yeah.
that? You saw that, right? Oh my
Yes,
God!
folks, I'd like for you to see
I sent this to Frank on. This is on Instagram. I have to find this.
why does this 18-year-old kid look like he's my
He looks like he's like I don't know. He's funny. He's like
he looks
yeah,
like he looks like Magnum PI's grandfather. I don't
yeah.
understand. Please explain.
He asked him. He's like. So you like the school? He's like, yeah. He's like, you can
You
either
got to go to class. You
yeah,
gotta
yeah. You
study.
either crash out or you make it or
Yeah.
you don't make it. So he's like, are you making it? He's like, well, I got one more year left. Like, no, he's like, are you a senior? He's like, no, I got one more year. I
He
got
looked
held
like
back.
this guy looks like Lou Ferrigno's
Yeah,
trainer,
yeah.
and he's
No,
18.
he's like, what do you do when you're what? He's like, yeah, I work for my father. I'm like, oh, I bet you do. Probably mafia. So,
I don't think so. He just seemed like
I know, I
his
know.
father probably has like a hardware store.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or
He
like
goes out.
construction.
He
I don't
he
know.
puts a shirt on layaway.
I
He
can't
takes over the
find.
dance floor.
Hold on, I have to find what I sent you, or I sent it to you and Eric. 1 second. And then I want to make a comment about music in the 70s, specifically how it was
Make a
record
comment.
how
I want to make a comment.
well
Me, me,
how
me.
Once upon a time
Let's do
in.
anything you want to do, Greg.
Sure.
But
Well, I'm gonna
I just
forget.
wanted to say something about the Shekhinah.
Oh,
You know?
that. Oh, that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Here, hold on one second. I
yeah.
gotta find this
That.
guy.
That.
I gotta find the guy in the car.
That's right, Jerry.
There's a couple of these kind of videos where they're just like, oh, here we go.
Dude, I was crashing, going to sleep. Then I had Celsius.
Oh, that, yeah. Oh my God.
Product
We're like not competing with them, but we are competing with them, that kind of thing, you know?
Dude, send me,
Oh yeah, I'll send you the soda, yeah.
Of New Year Trek.
Nah, I belong to the school. I go to the school.
Oh, you're going to the school now?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were just
This
passing
guy,
by.
he's a junior in high school.
Nice automobile.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you a senior?
No, I got one more year.
What's the school like?
Well, you know, if you come to the school and you do it, it'll come out good, you know. But if you just mess it up, you know, and cut your classes and do things like that, you're not gonna make it,
Can I
right?
ask you a personal question?
Sure, go ahead.
Have you been doing it?
Yeah, I've been doing it. Well, see, I never got left back, but I just messed up last year, you know.
8:30 and get out of 11.
So I just gotta stay one more year, you know. That's all it is a year later.
Is it hard?
No, it's not that hard. You know.
Do you work after school?
Yeah, all day, 6 days a week.
What do you do?
I work with my father.
You an alumnus of New
Hilarious.
I knew a kid who got left back twice.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he was 17 years old.
Yeah.
In fourth grade, in ninth grade or
In
something.
fourth grade.
Yeah, not in fourth. They don't. Yeah. The
Dude,
desk.
yeah.
It's like Billy Madison.
Yeah. Can I show the kid, the folks that I'm like, this was the most hilarious one out of all of them. This is Prospect Hall, you know, like the wedding hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have something for you. The Grand Prospect Hall.
Distinctly elegant yet affordable. Glamour and romance, illustrious weddings, fancy balls and banquets.
Have an affair here at prices that make sense. The grand entrance for brides and grooms.
We make your dreams come true.
The Grand Prospect Hall, minutes away in Brooklyn. 718-788-0777.
Dude, this was like, I guess, like a Russian
Seems like
restaurant for Italian people.
I don't know. Seems like a nice place, really.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like,
And,
it's Bensonhurst, you know?
Their commercial reminded me of a Sneaker Corner.
Yeah.
At Sneaker Corner, you got it all.
Yeah.
And then all the sneakers fall on top and bury them. And he's like,
Yes.
honey? And the guy sticks his face out, remember? He's like, hey, listen, we got to get down to business. We can't.
Hold on. Can I watch
around.
can I watch one more about Caesar's Bay Bazaar? This is
Oh, yeah.
folks, we used to go here to just race our
A weekend
cars.
department store with over 500 independent merchants and factory outlets
Me
under
and
one
Caesar's
roof.
Bay.
The big deal is the fantastic selection at Caesar's Bay Bazaar. 2 full floors of quality merchandise, 7-day refund policy, personal service, and low prices. Open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come by car, bus, or subway, but come to Caesar's Bay Bazaar in Brooklyn. Caesar's Bay, we're here to stay.
Мы едем на Caesar's Bay, там
How
sale.
much more, look how normal the people looked. by the way,
Yeah, it's amazing.
right? Nobody's obese. Nobody's
Yeah.
like hugely jacked.
Yeah.
Like that kid, that super duper senior in the Cadillac was
Yeah.
about as jacked as you were likely to encounter someone.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we have now. Like giant jack guys or like morbidly obese people. Like no normal people anymore. Okay. Squeaky, don't start with me. Okay. So basically, by the way, I'm struggling to get my 10,000 steps.
Mm.
You'd be surprised how difficult it is for an adult person
Oh
with
yeah,
a
big
family
time. Yeah.
to get 10,000 steps
Yeah.
in the course of a day. That's a 2-hour walk,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
You think that you can gather 10,000 steps throughout the course of
No.
the day? You'd be surprised.
Dude, if you live in an area where it requires you to drive a car and then you're not leaving your, let's say you, in your case, you're not really leaving your house until 6 p.m. because it's hot as balls.
Yeah. I'm like
So-
walking around my house. I'm trying to find reasons to walk,
Yeah.
because today I spent at least half the day at home,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm like getting into the groove,
Yeah.
You got to move.
Yeah.
You got to prove your love to
Prove
me.
love
By
to
the
me.
way,
Yeah.
just a second. Remember when we were trying to analyze that song "Rock the Cradle of Love" by Billy Idol.
Yeah.
And we're trying to see stuff that's like, folks, there's this concept that we received in the Torah that we have to elevate the sparks of anything and everything that we possibly can when that we encounter here in this physical world. Okay, we have to find the holiness, extract the holiness from it, right? Even things that are seemingly like don't have any much to do with holiness, right? Even like some pop love song or something like that, or just some pop song, right? And it's stunning how, especially in music, right? Like, and this goes beyond the consciousness of the artist, right? That like, for instance, the song "Big Love" by Lindsey Buckingham, right? Amazing song where he's like, can you play it for a moment? No, don't play it for a moment, because it's like I'm gonna want to listen to the whole song, and it's like it's like incredible, right? So he's like, he used to be the main guitarist for Fleetwood Mac, nice little band that nobody ever heard of, Fleetwood Mac, and he's singing about like lost love, right? And he's singing to seemingly a woman, and he said, I built you that house on the hill,
Yeah.
right, and it didn't work out,
Yeah.
And it's like big love, right? And that's basically the story of the Jewish people and God.
Yeah.
All right, there's this long time what is it, torrential, not torrential, tumultuous love story, right?
Yeah.
Between God and his nation Israel,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they built him a house on the hill,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't good enough. Nothing's ever good enough. And it's, okay. So these artists, they don't know what they're singing about. Or that song by Del Shannon, rest his soul. His like "My Little Runaway."
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, has one of the most beautiful openings of any kind of like pop song. It's really kind of just like hypnotic. Really.
Del Shannon.
Yeah, "Runaway." Would you mind playing that?
Yeah, I'll play that.
Just like literally the first 15 seconds.
Oh, this guy. Yeah, we've played this guy before. It's. I mean, it's a very short song. I mean,
it is a short song. Yeah. That's the one. Yes, sir.
Like an.
And check out these dancers that are like dancing around him, like tormenting him.
It's like surf rock.
What went wrong with our love, the love that was so strong. And as I still walk on, I think of the things we've done together, while our hearts were young. I'm a-walking in the rain, tears are falling and I feel a pain, wishing you were here by me.
Hey.
Yes.
Let's dig up the lyrics to that song. Or just let's examine them just for a moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me if this isn't about the exile of the Jewish people.
It's entirely possible. As I walk along, I wonder what went wrong with our love, a love that was so strong. And as I still walk on, I think of the things we've done together while our hearts were young. I'm walking in the rain.
And we were newlywed.
Yeah. I'm walking in the rain. Tears are falling, and I feel the pain. Wishing you were here by me to end this misery. I wonder.
What's the chorus? What's the chorus?
I wonder. I wonder why why? She ran away, and I wonder where she will stay. My little runaway. I
And who are we
run.
talking about here? Who's my little runaway?
It's the Sheena. I
The
mean,
Shekhinah, and
yeah,
where she will stay, right? She's
yeah,
in
It's an
exile in
exile.
exile.
Yeah, my little runaway. I run away. I'm walking in the rain. Tears have fallen. I feel the pain. Wishing you were here by me to end this misery. Uh, I wonder. I won't wonder. Okay, so now then it's just the chorus over and over again.
Okay, so while you're at it, can you look up the lyrics to Big Love just quickly? It's a short song too, by the way. We're not gonna
Okay.
play it because it's too good.
Big Love. Who's the guy?
Lindsey Buckingham.
So those are here are the lyrics. The lyrics are as follows. Uh, looking out for love in the night so still. Oh, I'll build you a kingdom in that house on the hill. Looking out for love, big, big love. You said that you love me and that you always will. Oh, you beg me to keep you in that house on the hill. Looking out for love, big love. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. I wake up. Okay, so now's the bridge. I wake up alone with it all. I wake up, but only to fall. Looking out for love, big, big love. Just looking out for love, big, big love. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. That's it. That's it.
Is that not,
Yeah. It sounds like the base of Mikdash to me.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes,
Yeah.
it's the Shekhinah. It's got, God who can't. Nothing we ever do is ever good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so easy to make a mistake. It's so easy to get him to abandon his house on the hill. You know what I mean? That kingdom that we built, right? Of course, if the rabbis hear me say this, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Irreverent. You know what? That's how I feel. Okay, and that's how people feel. That's how the Jews
Dude,
feel.
listen, man, can I tell you something?
I shouldn't have said that. Now we're gonna go down this road of
No, it's not. I've been meeting a lot of rabbis who, if you talk to them, at least in private, they'll validate.
But they'll, folks, for the most part, the rabbis, they'll get upset if they hear somebody use disrespectful tone towards God or something that seems like irrelevant or anything that isn't, complete, just like, anything that might be interpreted as disrespectful or taking too much liberty, whatever, you know what I mean? I get that as a policy.
Yeah.
But
dude, can I just say one thing that not connected to, well, it might be connected in a way, but music, we've spoken a lot about this a lot, about how music used to be produced. Dude, if you listen to an old track or like a track from like the 70s, like the one we heard, what's it called? The Deep Purple, for example. You listen to it in your headphones, you can hear that when they went into the recording studio, they had different instruments recorded on different channels or in different, one, you have like a drum coming out left speaker and you have the guitar coming out the right speaker and you have this coming out that, it wasn't what's called surround sound.
It was stereo.
Yeah, but it was, well, mono, but it was not surround. I mean, Eric can clarify the terminology, but the point is,
wasn't stereo two different speakers? Like,
no, meaning, well, it's not about how many speakers. It's about what is recorded where. Meaning the way they used to record it was like, imagine I have headphones up here. Over here I hear the drummer. Here I hear the guitarist, and then 2 seconds later here I hear like the whatever the singer, or sometimes the singer I can hear on both, right? So they would record different instruments on different tracks, different channels, and in a way it gave you the feel, almost like a live feel of the room. I mean, you knew it was live, right? But it gave you the live feel. Like, dude, if you watch, I could pull it up right now. They made a documentary of how the Beatles were recording. They filmed it actually, and amazing in color. It's called Get Back. How they were recording. Which album was it? Yeah, I'll play you like a clip from it.
We do have to get to Rabbi Weisberg at some point.
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
New directive.
Yes. Yeah, I'll just play this for you.
And also, in case something happens tonight, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I want to show folks at home, based on what everybody's talking about with this whole Iran thing. I want to show the folks at home clips from this. Whatever, I'll show it to you. Something relevant to this. But
Oh, ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. Jojo was the mayor, I thought he was a loner. One where everything was right, just like the last bit of my guitar.
dude, you could hear the live raw element, and that's how they used to record albums. They didn't put in any effects. They didn't put any, like auto-tune stuff. They didn't do any, post-production stuff to it. You know what they call airbrush when they take a photograph of a lady and they do airbrushing. They didn't do the audio version of airbrushing.
You could also hear Yoko Ono sucking the life out of everyone.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, she was just hanging out, but yeah, she was already starting to suck the life out of people. Yeah.
I could feel it happening.
She was pulling. It's funny, like if you watch enough of these, you'll see there's two things that are there's two themes of this whole thing. This is after this album was made after, these guys kind of like started doing their own things a little bit. Like George Harrison, he went to all these different festivals and he met different people. He started, like expanding his kind of wings because he was an amazing guitarist, right? And you see how he wants to have, in this album, he wants to have input of his own ideas. And Paul McCartney's being a total dick. McCartney was like a total control freak. He was very talented, but like he was like he just wanted to, And you see basically the whole theme is like Harrison wants to do, input, and McCartney's being a dick, and then Yoko is pulling John away from everybody else.
By the way, I have no idea. I'm not a Beatles trivia person. I don't really know anything. My father's
my parents were obsessed with Beatles. They got me into Beatles.
Beatles. Yeah. Actually, it's one of the ways in which he helped to finance his trip to America. My family. He had every Beatles album.
Yeah.
And he sold it on the black market to have some extra money.
Yeah, my parents did the same thing.
And in Russia. And but I don't know anything about Beatles. I just know that people make fun of Yoko. And they use her as a comic device.
Dude, my mom cannot stand Yoko. My mom. I think my mom, if she saw Yoko's Ono on the streets of New York, she would punch her in the face. She's like Miss Johnson.
You might have like Charlie.
Like if I see Yoko Ono, I'm a punch in the face.
I see that man, I'm a punch in the face.
Dude, my mom. If you come around my mom, you say the name, you say the word, 2 words, Yoko Ono, you're gonna see my mom's expression just that and Hillary. Hillary Clinton
and Jason Alexander for my father.
Oh, okay. He doesn't like Jason Alexander. Why not?
Because of Pretty Woman.
Oh, okay, fine.
Because he hit Pretty Woman.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I feel you, man.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
By the way, just before we continue, that song by Bartzal, it's not by Bartzal, the one that Bartzal that grew up with, the one that he uses to get himself in the right headspace. So just a small point about that when the sages say that you have to use music to get your spirit, you have to fill yourself with joy and with energy, right? So you got to use what works. So I grew up, as a little bit of a Guido in Brooklyn, New York, right, in the 80s and the 90s, right? And so the music that was around at that time is what gets me, you know what I mean? It's not going to be the stuff that I came upon when I was already 15 or 16, right, when I first started becoming observant and kind of hanging out with the Orthodox Jewish community. Like that's, some of the songs have grown on me, some of them, right?
Yeah.
And some of them are actually quite amazing and very moving.
Yeah.
But that kind of like that energy that really gets you going, right? That's not going to be the same for me as it is for a guy who grew up Orthodox,
Of course.
right? But the Orthodox guys, they'll never recommend listening to. So
Yeah.
it's a painful process for a
Of course.
person, either a convert
Yeah.
or someone like me who grew up completely, ignorant of Torah, and then kind of like trying to learn about it and become observant over time. It's just really the same experience, actually.
Yeah.
Convert.
Yeah.
And because your heart and your emotions are already connected to the things that you grew up with. So you gotta,
Of course.
no one's gonna tell you this. And I'm grateful to Bart Sadok, even with his rants and everything and all his other opinions on stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm grateful because he's the one guy, he's the one religious, truly knowledgeable rabbi who had the balls to say you gotta do what works for you.
Yeah.
You understand? He's an experiential, he's a guy who focuses on not on theory, but on experience.
He focuses on real life.
Yeah.
He's not trying to pull people out of real life, Yeah. I'll stop there. No, I wanted to say like something, but it's like pointless.
But
something yeah.
hold on to it. I will actually, might not be pointless. You make a decent point from time to time, Greg. Okay. But what I wanted to say was that song, Highway Star.
Yeah.
Could we just if you don't mind grabbing the lyrics for a moment?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
I have a theory. Every truly moving song, it has something to do
yeah.
with relationship with the Shekhinah, which is the human experience of God.
Well, it says nobody gonna take my car.
Okay, what's the car?
I'm gonna race it to the ground. Nobody gonna beat my car. I'm gonna break the speed of sound. It's a killing machine. It's got everything, like a driving power, big fat tires and everything. I love it and I need it. I bleed it. Yeah, it's a wild hurricane. All right, hold tight. I'm a highway star.
And then the next chorus, he goes from car to girl.
Nobody gonna take my girl. I'm gonna keep her to the end. Nobody gonna have my girl. She stays close on every bend. She's a killing machine. She's got everything, like a moving mouth, body control and everything. I love her. I need her. I seed her. Yeah, she turns me on. All right, hold on tight. I'm a highway star. Nobody gonna take my head. I got speed inside my brain. Nobody gonna steal my head. Now that I'm on the road again, I'm in heaven again. I've got everything, like a moving ground, like a moving ground, an open road, and everything. I love it.
We got it. Okay, so we got enough. Let me just tease that apart a little bit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I know what that sounds like, to, let's say, the uninitiated, right? But it can be interpreted, and Deep Purple, certainly uninitiated, okay? But, any song that really has that kind of spirit, that really gets people's blood pumping, right? It's not simple. There's power to it. It was brought to this world. It could be used for good or bad. And this machine that he's describing here in this song, right?
Yeah.
Is a Merkava.
Yeah.
Right? Because basically, Bart Sadek was talking about, he goes, you got to build your traveling device, right? Like when you're making the ascents, right? When you're ascending to the upper worlds in consciousness, right? You need to build a vehicle to travel in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And it's a vehicle of consciousness, okay? And it sounds like a technical, like it sounds like something that engineers have to do, but actually it's emotional.
Yeah.
You can't build your vehicle without powerful emotions, and it has to be very, very passionate and sexual.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, that's the secret, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it's weird and everything, and we talked about it, but and that's one of the reasons why Kabbalah, real Torah Kabbalah, is kind of secret yet not secret.
Yeah.
It's secret because it's only for mature adults.
Yeah.
People who understand what sexuality is really about.
Yeah.
It's about connecting,
and unfortunately,
it's the energy that we're supposed to use to connect to the Creator, to the Shekhinah, which is the interface that God created for us to connect to Him.
Listen, unfortunately, in the Orthodox world, due to exile, people spent a lot of time in places like Europe, and Judaism in terms of, first of all, just the practice of it and just the how people behave. They got it into their heads that things like modesty and staying away from any kind of yeah, just modesty is like you have to basically turn yourself into like men have to turn themselves into monks, basically, right? Until they get married. Right?
Well, yeah, no,
Um,
I'm not. What I'm saying doesn't contradict that.
no, I know. What I'm saying is like it seems like we when we're learning Torah, the Torah that we're being taught is basically devoid of, you know, yeah, it's devoid of reality. It's devoid of
It's the children's Torah.
it's a children's Torah. It's like you can't look at, for example, you know, Yaakov, the whole thing with Yaakov and Leah and Rachel as like this like adult. I'm not talking about like God forbid PRN. I'm talking about as just a mature uh adult interaction of people who are having, certain feelings. Like this person has this feeling, this person has this feeling. This guy's in love with this lady, but then, something happens and then he thought he was getting one girl. Yeah. It's a whole story that's very, it's something that we experience as adults in relationships, like all the time, constantly. Unrequited love, having to, I don't know, wait for the person that you're meant to be with for whatever, years and years and all this kind of thing and breaking up and this and, coming back together, chasing this, that. It's not kindergarten. It's some real stuff, you know?
It's not kindergarten, but it's also not Hollywood. So let
It's not,
me.
no, no, it's not Hollywood. I didn't say it was Hollywood. I'm saying it's very real to what I'm saying. It's very relatable to real experiences, not Hollywood experiences. What I just described, I didn't mean that in a Hollywood sense. I meant that in an actual sense
I
that
know.
we
I know. I know what sense you meant it in. But let me see if I can, folks. The Torah talks about these people like Abraham and Sarah, right? And Isaac and Rebecca and Jacob and his wives, Rachel and Leah, Bilhah and Zilpah, and every male female uh, relationship, married relationship, right? The Torah is describing, right? The ones that are described as proper, right? Is actually it's what it's describing is the things that are going on within God Himself. So it's giving us essentially a blueprint as to the interactions among the Sephirot. Okay, like the especially the relationship. There's this concept of Zer Anpin and Nukva, or the Shechina. Okay, where different aspects of God, how they interact, and how we're supposed to look upon this as an example, right? It's basically God is performing an instruction manual for us, right? And we're supposed to watch and take note and emulate it, right? Like, think about how the stewardess, the flight attendant, right? She teaches you how to put on the safety vest, or where the emergency exits are, right? Or how to put on the oxygen mask, right? And or the person who you go in the park and you see people doing Tai Chi. There's a group of usually elderly Chinese people doing Tai Chi, and you see there's a guy or a lady at the head of the group, right? And that person has the best form, and so everybody else is trying to copy or emulate their form, right? So the way God interacts with mankind, right, is that He presents Himself through the Sphirot, right, and He teaches us. The Sphirot are basically an instruction manual that God left us, that we're supposed to observe and then emulate, right? So God kind of within Himself shows us how we're supposed to interact with male, female, parent, child, husband, wife, you know, all this kind of, it's all kind of like, you know, performed or demonstrated is the better term. God is demonstrating for us. So when when we're reading about something that Jacob did or said to Rachel, or vice versa, right? We're actually seeing what God is showing us that we're supposed to do by emulating it within the Sphirot. Okay. And Jacob and Rachel are the human beings who were most synced with God, right? Or Abraham and Sarah, or Isaac and Rebecca, right? They were completely synced with God's quote unquote, or to borrow a term, movements, right? And they emulated God. So when we read about their activities and their interactions, that's what we're really learning. We're learning what God does, how he wants us to act between ourselves. So you really have to understand the stories, okay? You're not going to really get all that by the English translation, especially if you're reading those stories with us through certain lenses where you're already geared to, you know, you've been taught that these are, you know, simple proto people who made all these mistakes, and then there's this one guy who's absolutely perfect, and everybody that you're reading about is, you know, is all working up to this one guy who you can't get to God without. Okay, if you're going to read the Hebrew scripture stories through that lens, then you are already lost in terms of understanding. Okay. Anyway, so when I'm talking about, you know, sexual energy, right, as how to use it properly, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how God demonstrates it, and we're supposed to emulate it. And when we're meditating, right, there's this concept called making ascent, right? That means you're meditating and you're trying to raise your consciousness to the upper worlds, real places, right? In the sense you're traveling outside of your body and the confines of your rational mind, right? To ascend to the heavens, right? And to have something called Dveikut. It's one of the 613 commandments, right? Where it says,
Frank, I apologize, my door is being knocked on. I'm sorry.
Okay. So I'll just quickly, one of the 613 commandments, right, is that you have to cleave to the Lord your God. That's the English translation of it. Okay, so we, you know, we receive the tradition as to how to observe that commandment, and one of the ways, and one of the primary ways to do that, is by making these ascents that we receive through the prophetic tradition. Okay, so and in order to do that properly, you know, there's proper techniques in meditations, and it involves I'm not going to say disconnecting, but in some way escaping the material world, right? And one of the ways, or the primary initial liftoff, if we're going to use a rocket metaphor, right, is to use your libido energy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's an example that's given without too much detail. There's and this is, and Bart Sadok actually translated. This is a meditation story from a Kabbalistic text, where there's a guy who was he was kind of like a peddler. He was like a wanderer or whatever, sort of homeless. And he was traveling somewhere, and he somehow accidentally saw a beautiful woman bathing. He stumbled upon it by accident, and he wasn't staring or anything, but it was an accident. But when he saw her, he was so blown away by the beauty, by her, you know, by her visage, right? By that whole like scene, that he was overwhelmed by it. and he approached her and told her that he desired her, and she said something like, I forgot what she said, right? She said something like, in the grave we are all on the same level.
Yeah.
So I interpret that to mean like right now, you can never approach me, you can never have me or something like that. But in the grave, we're all on the same level. So basically, in one form or another, she said, not in this life, pal. Okay. She said that to him. Okay. And I think she was a princess or something like that. These aren't the most important parts of the story. The part of the story is that he was so struck by her image, by that vision, right?
Yeah.
That he like didn't want to lose it. So he held on to that in his mind, right? In his mind's eye, he focused on it and meditated, and it became so clear and so crisp in his mind. But something about the process of him engraving this image or this memory of this scene in his mind, he began to realize that he had transcended the person, the actual girl or the woman that he saw. Like the vision itself became much, much stronger somehow. He wasn't like elaborating on it or something like that, but he had realized that the vision itself had become like a vehicle or a vessel for escaping essentially his limited consciousness, right? Or ascending essentially to the higher levels of consciousness. And then he began to learn about what was happening to him, and it was explained to him that he understood that this image was an inspiration. It got his energy going, and it lifted his spirit up out of his regular low-level mundane consciousness. When he realized that that's what happened, he began to learn. He eventually became a very wise sage over time, after decades and decades. But the point is that the vision that he, it started with that kind of like, this is not such a great situation. You come upon a person who's bathing, and it's private. It's not a decent interaction, even if it was accidental. You know what I mean? But somehow, right, that inspired him. It got his energy going because it was related. It was libido related, right? And I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly, but somehow he was able to elevate this experience beyond this, the kind of low level kind of dirty pornographic aspect to it. And I don't think it could be really classified as pornographic because, we're talking about something that happened like 600 years ago and it was accidental. And it wasn't really like, it's not like today where you can like, turn on the internet and see all types of like debased things. This is just like a guy who was overwhelmed by, you don't see beautiful naked women all the time in the ancient world back in the days. That was like a shocking rare event. And a person could be overwhelmed by that. And I'm sure he felt love as well, and romantic feelings and all this kind of stuff. The point is that it was something. It was it was something that started as a negative, but then it accidentally turned into something which elevated him, right?
Yeah.
And it's not something that would happen for everyone. This story was obviously kind of orchestrated, right, by heaven, in order that this particular concept could be taught, right? Where because most of the time a person is going to see, if the average person who, if they were to have that kind of encounter, it would become bad. It would become a dirty thing, and it would not elevate them spiritually. And it's not something that anybody should ever seek to happen. But since it happened to this one guy, and he was kind of like, guided by heaven, so to speak, right? And it gave forth this particular concept that we can use to ascend to God, right? But the point is that there's some kind of energy which, I've heard this expression, springs from the loins, so to speak.
Mhm.
Okay, it's an emotional consciousness type of energy that is the driving force to begin our consciousness elevation, which is what ascending means, which is what dveikut means, right? And
It's funny, Frank, you mentioned that word. You say that word. Um, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he's a convert. He lives in Jerusalem, and for whatever reason, it might be something from, maybe a previous life or whatever it is, or maybe just this previous life and this life, before he was a convert, where he got it into his head that, some way, somehow, Judaism is kind of like a gumball machine, meaning, you do mitzvot, you do this and that and the other, and you get some sort of, if not reward here, then some kind of reward later, right? And I told him, actually, that's not what any of this is for. It's literally just for, and I use that word, dvekut, for the connection, for cleaving, and it really means cleaving to God. And it's difficult for him to understand, and it's funny, like, this is something that, and this guy who converted, he will tell you this himself, and it's something that a friend of, our mutual friend, that, I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, and I was telling him, like, this guy's still stuck on this kind of thing, and he goes to me, he writes to me, he did convert to Judaism because he found the truth that Jews are, this is according to the convert guy, right? The Jews are superior people. Much to his dismay, he found that the superiority, quote unquote, is only a spiritual, quote unquote, superiority that is only seen in the spiritual dimension, and that there is no physical superiority whatsoever, or physical reward for that matter. In fact, the purpose of any physical reward in this world is only to make it, quote unquote, easier for us to do more mitzvot so that we can invest in eternity, in our eternity. The Torah makes it very clear that physical reward has no value at all in and of itself unless it is used as a means to bring godliness into the world. Things
there's
that,
no physical reward.
yeah, no, so listen, so he goes, things that so and so wants, like our mutual friend, much like Nimrod in the Bible, world domination, harems, power, control. This is actually what this guy, whatever, is not considered, quote unquote, reward according to the Torah. Like, if a person is given that by God, that's not a reward. Any of those things, any kind of power, domination, control, whatever, like multiple women, I don't know, in succession at the same time, whatever. Right? It's not,
Yeah.
none of that is a reward. I mean, I guess it's nice for those who like it, but it's not a reward. And this is something that he doesn't, he always cites, King Solomon, like, that wasn't a reward. King Solomon wrote Kohelet, where he was talking about how it's all bullshit. He had it all, and you realize it's not a reward. And in
There's
fact,
nothing. Yeah.
no, I was gonna say, in fact, it led to the demise, to when he started, whatever, bringing in foreign
Listen.
people.
People horribly. Let me put it this way: King Solomon's gonna be slapping a lot of people when he gets back.
That goes without saying.
But I'm gonna explain to you why.
So was David, by the way.
Yeah.
David would hit them with mallets.
No. David
with iron mallets.
David will hit them with, like, that look when somebody makes you realize that you're a pig.
Yeah.
Well, but they really make you feel it, like
Yeah.
they make you understand it. Right? That's how people are gonna feel when he comes back, and he here's what people have been saying about him this whole time. Okay.
Yeah.
So these men, David and Solomon,
Yeah.
and almost everybody else that we were reading about in the Hebrew scripture, right? Let's focus on Solomon for a second. All right. They could not care less about the joys or the pleasures of this world.
Yeah.
They're only anything that they looked at in this world, everything was a means of serving God. That was their only love. That was their only concern. They wanted to impress God.
Yeah.
They wanted to serve God, and they realized that anything that they're dealing with, whether it be physical relationships, food, resources, gold, war, anything, is all only about getting closer to God, because that was the only thing that they cared about, their personal and their national, and really the relationship of the collective humanity to God.
Yeah.
King Solomon, every single one of those wives that he had, right, was a princess of one of the ancient nations. The Torah talks about the 70 nations, right?
Yeah.
And it's understood in I think not just in the Torah, but probably in most ancient wisdom, that the princess, right, or the princesses of the kingdom represented the soul of the kingdom, or the heart of the people, of the nation.
Yeah.
The daughter of the king, or the daughters of the king.
Yeah.
Okay. So he married those women, those princesses, for several reasons. Politically speaking, to make peace with the nations, because during King Solomon's reign was the most peaceful time that ever existed on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It was the closest thing to it was the nearest. That's the time when the Earth was the closest to returning to the Garden of Eden since the Garden of Eden. It fell through, but there was a nice little run there for during his administration, to put it that way. Okay. And not only that, it wasn't just about economic and physical peace. Since the princess represented the soul of the nation, King Solomon was attempting to elevate, to rectify the soul of the nations. Okay. Everything was just a device to serve God. There's this concept called tzaddik. Okay. There's really no translation for it in English or any other language, but is a saint, a person who has no evil inclination. Okay. That means that the person, he does not do anything outside of his desire to serve God. There's nothing selfish about anything that he did. Now, he was a human being and he made errors. The Torah is very harsh on these patriarchs and matriarchs, right, who did their best to serve God, right? So King Solomon is blamed for idolatry. So why does he get blamed for idolatry? Did he worship idols? He did not worship idols. You have to be literally retarded to think that King Solomon was capable of worshiping idols. So why does he get blamed for it? Well, because in his enthusiasm and his zeal to serve God and to rectify the entire the earth and the universe, right? He bit off more than he can chew. He made an error. He thought that he could elevate and purify the soul of the princess of Egypt. Now, Egypt was a mucked up, country, nation, and that's like, I don't know what to compare it to, but that's like, the whore of Babylon. For those, right? If you try to take the whore of Babylon and somehow purify her soul, right, and make her a good girl, okay? So that's what he thought that he could accomplish with the princess of Egypt. But he made an error. He was not able to do it, or maybe he was premature. He was not prepared at that time, whatever. So he was successful with everybody else. So it kind of makes sense why he would think that he could also be successful with the princess of Egypt. But she secretly started building idolatry altars in Israel without him realizing that. Yet he was blamed for it. That's what King Solomon is, okay? And anybody talk shit about him, he's gonna line you all up, and he's gonna metaphorically smack you through the motherfucking wall, okay? And it's not gonna feel good. And also, I'm worried he's gonna do it to me too, just because I'm talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like trying to get on his good side, but you never know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So anyway,
listen, man, can I tell you something
with regards to deliver a little bit of Torah with a little bit of humor, but it's true what I said.
Can I, with regards to all this stuff about you worrying about this and that and the other, and because you're saying this and that and the other, we're going through so much. Like, what I realized, it's crazy, man. I was in the kitchen of where I went to for Shavuot. I was in the kitchen a lot because I was one of the guys who I brought the wine, right? So I was responsible for the wine, so I was in and out of the kitchen. And I'm standing there in the kitchen, and there's a guy there. A lot of people were just hanging out there. It was like a hangout spot, And this guy comes up to me. You could tell he grew up religious, and he comes up to me, and he says to me something I didn't have an answer for necessarily, or I tried to change his answer or I tried to change what he said a little bit or augment it, and he couldn't even understand what I was trying to do or what I was trying to say. He comes up to me, he goes, I just want to let you know that Hashem loves you. And he goes, Hashem doesn't care about, this is how he worded it. He goes, Hashem doesn't care about your mitzvot or your averot. He doesn't care about your mitzvahs or your averas. He just loves you unconditionally. Meaning, he doesn't care if you do them, and he doesn't care if you do averas. That's
He's
what this
wrong.
guy. I know. I didn't have the heart to tell him that. I didn't want to have the heart to even get into a discussion with him about this, because this guy grew up religious, and you could tell he's going through some stuff. You can tell that whoever, someone literally, a rabbi, Rosh Hashiva, a parent, basically crushed him, right? And what I think this guy meant to say was, yes, Hashem does care. There is, so to speak, a general ledger, right? There's like, like in accounting, he takes account of whatever you're doing, whatever you're not, whatever you did bad and this and that and the other. There is some kind of a weighing going on. But I think what he meant to say was, or at least what I would say is, don't go insane. Meaning, don't go insane, you know, looking over your shoulder, or being afraid of your own shadow and going OCD. That's what I would tell him. I just didn't have the, he seemed like he was kind of very, very much stuck in his own, some people, they're kind of like they have a message.
I have a message.
No, what's up?
I got to go pee. Could you just please?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cannot. The Celsius.
Yeah, do your thing.
Hold
What's
that
in that?
thought.
What's in that stuff? Coconut water?
Rocket fuel.
My God.
Exactly what I need.
It has alcohol in it, no?
No.
Frank has gone bye-bye. Oh, there he is. Folks, I'll continue to talk about the very important thing when Frank gets back. And then later I'll just kind of we're probably going to cover this whole, I mean, by the time we post this, we will know if Israel has done anything to Iran. You know, I really hate this whole situation, not because it might lead to war, but because all we have to hear about is, oh, Israel's gonna pull America into a war. Israel's gonna like Israel can do everything by itself, and America, like, it could be that America doesn't participate at all, not even in like intercepting rockets or doing anything, even in support, and they're still gonna, oh, Israel's trying to pull America into a war. You don't want to be in a war, don't be in a war. Let us handle it. Stop telling us what to do. We won't tell you what to do. We won't ask you for anything, and just have Emunah and Hashem. Let Hashem help us. It's just us and Hashem by ourselves, and that's it. We're not pulling you into anything. Relax. This is trying to pull America into war. USS Liberty. I'm just tired of it. Like, what are we supposed to do? Just let Iran have a nuclear weapon and blow everybody up, or what? How do you stop this? You can't talk to them. You can't have a negotiation with them. Clearly, Trump said these people don't want to relinquish, whatever they're supposed to relinquish. They're insisting on playing games. They're insisting on, playing smoking, 1001 Nights, smoke and mirrors, carpet games. Literally pulling a Persian carpet from under you, and they're doing this perpetually. So what are you supposed to do with people like this? Except smack him in the face, hit him with, speaking of hitting somebody with a mallet. It's either going to be us or them. It's Mamash Asir some game. So, we'll get into it later. But I just every time I hear, oh, Israel's going to pull America into a war, I was just ranting at people, Frank.
All America has to do is stop interfering with Israel.
Just stop interfering. Let us have Emunah in Hashem. You know what I noticed, dude? Even some of these Jews, so-called Orthodox Jews, on Twitter, or just Jews in general, you know what I'm noticing? There's no Emunah in Hashem. There's no like concept of history. Like, dude, I want to show clips of there's on History Channel, they show the clips of the interviews with the guys who were the pilots in the raid on the reactor in Osirak, in 1981. Israel did it by themselves. I mean, with God's help. Eight pilots, 8 planes flew like this high off the ground, literally this high off the ground under the radars, over like Jordanian airspace, over parts of Iraqi airspace. Like, they got shot at a little here and there, but like, dude, they blew up a freaking. And then afterwards, everybody was like, deriding them. How dare you do this? Are you people insane? How dare we do this? How dare we even pull this off? It was like one of the most impressive military operations anybody has ever seen. And behind closed doors, the American, generals were like, holy shit. And they were telling Reagan, Mr. President, this is insane. We couldn't pull this off. How the hell did the Israelis pull this off? Just,
Let's get back to that other thing that you were talking about.
No, so I was just going to say that this guy, he clearly was on his kind of track. He was saying this to everybody that went into the kitchen. I didn't want to pull him off whatever he was on, whatever his
repeat what he said. Repeat it.
He said he kept coming up to people and he was saying, and he like gave me a hug and everything, like he was trying to be all warm and fuzzy. He goes, Hashem loves you unconditionally. And he doesn't care. I don't know what he meant by it. Maybe he meant something else, but the way he said it, he doesn't care about your mitzvahs and averas.
Okay, tell me when I can explain things.
You can explain.
So again, let's just take his words at face value. We can entertain the possibility that we didn't understand what he actually said, but let's just hypothetically, we don't know this guy, so we'll just say he meant it literally. Okay, so that is wrong. God loves people's souls, some part of your soul unconditionally.
Yeah.
There's a part of your soul that can never disconnect from God. That's one with God. Okay, and there's an aspect to human consciousness which cannot be tarnished by what we do here in this world.
Right.
There's lower more external aspects of our souls that God does not love unconditionally.
Yeah.
And he does not, and he does, not only does God care about what we do, our good deeds and our bad, but he's obsessed with them.
Yeah.
Just think about that for a moment. What does that mean? If God doesn't care what, God bothered to create a world and then to create us to exist in it and to act in it. He told us he wants to have a relationship with us of some kind, that he wants to have this, and he gave us he gave us his preferences. He gave us the Torah, where he expressed his desire, his will for what he wants us to do, right? And the commandments, the mitzvahs, are a description of what God is like in the most intimate possible way. And he told us all of his most intimate secrets, his preferences, what he likes, what he wants. And he gave us the free will to observe those commandments, right? The word commandment is wrong, because the word mitzvah means a connection. They should be called the 613 connections rather than the 613 commandments, right? So by every single one of those mitzvahs is a way of bonding to God, connecting to him. And he wants us to do them because he wants us to bind to him. And he says that he doesn't want us to do sins, right? Sins are the things that are all the other stuff that's not binding to God, right? He created a situation where he says, I want you to bind to me. Here are the 613 acts that you can do to bind to me. That's what I desperately want, but I'm not going to force you to do it. I'll give you options where you can do alternative things, where you can make a choice and do things that don't bind to me. I don't want you to do that, but it has to be willing relationship. So I'll provide those other choices. Okay. So he is basically, metaphorically speaking, sitting around all day waiting for us to connect to him. That's all he's doing. That's like the whole point of the creation of this of existence, what we call existence. That's all he cares about. And remember, he didn't just create you and then dropped you off somewhere and now you have a life of your own while he's busy doing his own thing. In order for you to exist, you, me, literally everything, God has to literally be fully concentrated on you at all times, right? Just for you to even exist. So he's looking at you all the time in every microscopic detail of your body and your soul, just to facilitate your existence. Do you understand? Like if he was not fully concentrated on you in every detail, you wouldn't even be able to exist. So there's somebody out there who's so obsessed with you, right? That it's like, it makes you feel like there's a stalker. It makes you feel like uncomfortable. Like he's more obsessed with you than you are. Because think about all the involuntary functions that you have operating in your body. Your heart, are you making your heart beat consciously? God's making your heart beat consciously. And mine too, and everybody else's too. Okay. On the scary side, also everything that goes wrong, he's also doing that on purpose too. So it's not all peaches and cream, and it's not all this like lovely romance thing that I'm all the bad and painful stuff and the scary stuff is also he's also doing it.
Which brings me to
wait. So in conclusion,
Oh,
Let's see how
already.
long let's see how long this conclusion is.
Yeah.
Uh, so God is literally, not literally, but literally, figuratively, sitting around all day waiting for you to call.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't say he doesn't care about your mitzvahs
Yeah.
or your. You have to be out of
I
your.
I guess what this guy was meaning to say, it's not that he doesn't care, because what I glean from this guy's aura, I guess you could say, is that he's not sitting around waiting to punish you. That's what this kid was trying to say, because it seems like a lot of these kids were it's been explained to them and they've been made to understand that this is what Hashem is sitting around waiting
Okay,
to do.
okay, fine,
You
fine.
know?
He's not sitting around waiting to punish us.
Yeah, yeah.
It just looks that way.
It looks, yeah, and so what I want to say is, and remember I told you this over the phone. I was watching just because I wanted to watch it. They gave, like Jamie Foxx and a few other people, the BET Awards or whatever. These like Lifetime Achievement Awards. So Jamie Foxx and I think it was also Snoop Dogg and a couple and this guy Kurt Franklin. This guy Kurt Franklin, he was like a gospel singer, like a very famous gospel singer.
Yeah.
So Jamie Foxx comes up and he's like, I'm just gonna paraphrase, because Jamie Foxx had a stroke. And I think it was because of, the you know what, and he almost died. And he's just like, and his daughter was sitting, she's sitting there in the audience. His two daughters actually. And he's like, I told my daughters, God is good and all this kind of stuff, and I wasn't supposed to survive, and they said my vitals were very low and all this kind of thing, and I survived and whatever. But it tells this whole story how whatever. One of his daughters played a guitar and he started feeling better, and he's like, I told God that I would, if he kept me alive, I would, basically like not screw up the rest of whatever this is, and the rest of life, and blah blah blah, blah all this whole thing. And then like he's like repeating, God is good, God is good. And then he was saying how like, oh, they just showed an in memoriam of all the black stars who like, are not with us anymore. And he's like, I could have been in the in memoriam. And I'm thinking to myself, and if he was in the in memoriam, what do we say then? Right? God is good? Are you still gonna say that stuff? You know what I mean? Or like if it's a guy who's like, is here, but if like let's say a guy who was there in the auditorium would have also passed away, would he say God is good? Like would he say on that guy God is good? Like so it begs the question, first of all, how do these celebrities, who do they think God is? Are they is it that they're replacing God with, someone else we speculate that who they worship? Or do they actually have a very myopic understanding of who God is? When God does
Yeah.
something good,
It's a very
it's fantastic. And when it's bad, it's not God, it's the devil. And the devil is a separate entity.
Yeah, it's probably most of the time just a very simplistic, childish, you know, way of looking at God. That's it. Where, right, he's being feels like he's being nice to me, so God's good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what it is. Now, just to say a word about what your convert friend, right? Who you talked about, like the idea superiority,
Yeah.
there's nothing superior at all about the Jewish people. Nothing. The only thing that we have, which is superior to everything, is the Torah. That's the only thing special about the Jewish people. Torah, which is obviously connected to the land of Israel and God. What is the Torah? It's God's will communicated to mankind. We preserved it. We received it, and we preserved it for all of mankind, and we can teach it. That's it. That is our, if you're going to use the word superior, we have superior information for the world. We have superior data, folks. Yeah, it's superior to your.
So Frank, so here's my question. Here's my question though. So the organization Aish HaTorah, the yeshiva in the old city. So one of their common kind of pitches, I would say, And this is something that my convert friend will tell you, not confirm, but he will echo this. He will say, but look, oh my goodness. Is
Sorry,
everything okay?
I dropped something.
He will say, but look at the disproportionate amount to our population of, Jewish Nobel Prize winners in mathematics, in science, and X, Y, and Z, and primarily, Ashkenazi Jews more than Sephardi. It's mostly Ashkenazi Jews, right?
Squeaky. I'm sorry, Squeaky's just being out
Frank,
of control here.
I want to ask you actually a question, not towards you. I noticed there's something that's been going on the last few years.
With Squeaky?
And no. And I Googled this, and I'm trying to find out if it's a thing. And apparently it is. I'll be in like a group setting, and somebody will be talking, or a bunch of people will be talking. And then when it comes time for me to talk, I literally open my mouth. A fucking fire truck rolls by, an ambulance rolls by. Like this happened in a at the campfire. Some guy, I start talking, the guy is in a chair and he almost falls off a chair. I didn't touch him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, something effing happens
Yeah.
when it's my turn to talk. I don't know why. Is it the Citra?
I don't believe you. You know why? Because that's what happens to me.
I know, but it happens to you too. But I'm saying,
especially with my family.
I'm telling you, I think we have something to say, and the Citracha is just like battling us to, the death.
Yeah, like here comes this guy who thinks that he's going to be able to really make
enunciate, something,
to explain something, to make a change in some, at least the thought pattern. We can't have. That's what it seems like. It does. I know what you mean.
Dude, I'm literally in like a crowd of people. And sometimes it'll be a thing where they literally call me up to speak and like do like a Dvar Torah or something. And then I come up and then like crash, like literally like an object, I don't know, some kind of like a like a pot and pan somewhere in the kitchen. I don't know, something, anything.
Yeah.
Somebody falls. I don't know. It's insane. I'm noticing for the last basically since I became Baal Tshuva.
It's tough to deal with the with God's chaos.
Dude, it's literally like, wow. Anyway, I don't even know what I was saying.
I was talking to our mutual friend about this, how if somebody has an idea or something to say which can really be helpful, let's not talk about Torah for a second. Let's just say, how to get through traffic, right? Like, how to get from point A to point B. This person really needs to get there at a certain time, right? In a certain way. And that you can help them. That you can tell them exactly how to go, which streets to take, and to what time to leave, right? But for some reason, the entire universe is stopping you from delivering this information or from it being listened to. You know what I mean? Even from the person themselves, they just can't hear it from you, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
And then and you got to and that's God. God's doing that.
I know.
By the way.
Yeah.
It's almost like God is saying, "Oh, okay, okay, fine. You got the answer, Mr. Smarty Pants. You think I'm going to let you I'm going to let that happen? Not yet. No. I'm not going to, you think that it's like I was telling our mutual friend, I was like, because he's also, in the context of his like relationship, right? He has the right thing, like he has the right idea, and it would make the person, his loved one, feel better, but they won't listen to him.
Yeah.
Right?
Like health-wise or whatever it is.
Yeah, health-wise and other things too.
Yeah. And
they just won't listen. They can't hear it from him. And our friend is wondering why. Why does it have to be this hard? Like, why can't, and I think I gave him my speculation. I said, I think it's that even if for those people who have the right information, they shouldn't feel like they're so effective in this world.
Why?
So that we don't get, so it's a humbling experience.
Yeah, but
Where
dude,
you're dealing, basically God saying, okay, fine, you have the
it's a humbling
I'm not going to give you,
experience.
it's almost like I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of fixing this. It's like you don't even merit yet to 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 I'm not going to give you the merit to actually achieve this thing that you want to achieve.
But
because
isn't it? Yeah.
maybe it's not, because maybe it's not for to serve me. Maybe it's like you want to like aggrandize yourself. You want to have esteem in the eyes of whoever you're helping, and you're not doing it to serve me.
Frank,
Something like
when
that. I don't know.
Frank, when I and I told you this, I was sitting in Shavuot learning at night with my friend, and we were learning a certain, thing by the Alter Rebbe, and then I brought up the whole thing of I said this to you last episode, and there was a few people sitting around listening to us learning, and I mentioned resurrection of the dead, because he was saying how like everything's temporary, and we're temporary, our physicality is temporary, this and that. And then I mentioned resurrection of the dead, and I got very animated, but I didn't get animated to get animated at him and attack him. I got animated because I was trying to convey something that he should know, that God wants him to know. That God wants us to know. Not because I for sure did not want any praise at 3 o'clock in the freaking morning for saying what I was saying and the way I was saying it. And I knew I wasn't going to get anybody clapping and anybody jumping up and down. If anything, I got a lot of pushback. Because I said, half the people in this room use drugs because they want to escape the eventuality of this and that and the other, and they can't even think about TSMASM. They just have to, all they see what we see. They can't deal with it, so they start taking Molly and mushrooms and this and that and the other. And then somebody took offense to me saying that, because what if that's how people connect to God, and this whole conversation, whatever. And I'm just like, that's stupid, So basically, nothing I said could have, there was nothing I said that I could have been given any kind of award for. Let's put it that way, So I guess God allowed me to do it that way and look like a crazy person in front of a bunch of people.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
He let that one through, That one he let through.
Remember I told you, like, like I'm defending King Solomon, right?
Yeah.
But I also got to be worried that maybe he's going to slap me too, because because that's what why am I saying that? Because it feels like that with God sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, you think you're doing the right thing, and then all of a sudden it feels like it, like you fall flat on your face while you're trying to do a mitzvah.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like you try to do the right thing, but he makes you fall flat on your face and humiliates you. Why? Why, God?
Yeah. Kind of like I go to these events and there's
a lot of why God. It's mostly why God. Everything he does is why God. Everything.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. Speaking of why God, we have this whole situation with Iran.
You know what? Let's end on that. Let's end on it.
Oh, this is early. Oh, okay, fine. I thought you meant let's end now. Okay.
No. I'm saying let's continue with what we said we were going to do. We said we were going to do it with because you mentioned the Hias Mason. What a perfect segue.
Yeah.
To get into Rabbi Weisberg. So
yes.
Last week, folks, we played our show's interview where Greg was interviewing Rabbi Weisberg. I didn't have the opportunity to be there, but Greg did a great job interviewing him.
Yeah.
Even though the Chai Coms were jamming the signal.
Yeah.
And look at last week's episode. We aired the entire interview.
Yeah.
In our last week's episode, and then we discussed it. But but that was a very that was a bit of an esoteric conversation, because if have you ever seen like two doctors or two like physicists Not that Greg is a physicist in this regard, but he is familiar with a lot of these concepts. So for some of you who aren't as familiar, it might have seemed like a conversation between two people who are very familiar with ideas, and the audience perhaps is not. But Rabbi Weisberg made a whole bunch of videos where he's addressing people who are completely unfamiliar with these concepts, and they're generally short videos. And I thought maybe we could start playing them here. Let's start with like number one. If you agree to this, Greg, where we could actually play Rabbi Weisberg's videos.
Let's see.
Where if we go, can you go to Isser Zalman Weisberg's YouTube channel? He has a YouTube channel.
His first ever video was "When is the Messiah coming?"
Yeah,
it's about like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking we could play like one video at a time. It could be a series or two, depending on how we feel.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right.
Sorry,
so this is a video from he started doing this like, wow, this is like the day before the 2020 election.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what he said. Trump and the Messiah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
In this relatively short video series, I will share with you, with the help of God, some really amazing stuff. I will try to be brief, but please be patient. This might very well be the most informative series you have ever listened to. First, I will share with you the secret of all secrets, the one which some of the greatest sages of Israel have attempted to unveil for over 2,000 years. Only one person in the history of mankind was made known of this secret, our forefather, Jacob. But even he was not given permission by God to share it, even with his own children.
When you wear these pinstripes, when you get a chance.
Why then was little me granted this privilege? I'm not sure why, but the greatest mystic of all times revealed this possibility. In the holy book of the Zohar, authored by Rabbi Shimon, son of Yochai, over 1800 years ago, it is predicted that there will be a time at the end of days when the secret of the Kates, the end time, the time of the arrival of the Messiah, will be known to the smallest of men. The time is now. Apparently, being that I have the distinction of being the tiniest of the smallest of men, I may have been chosen to reveal this awesome secret to you. Time will tell. I will also reveal to you how I know with absolute certainty that tomorrow, November 3rd, President Donald J. Trump will be given another 4 years to complete the godly mission he was entrusted with in preparation for the coming of the Messiah. I will also reveal to you the metaphysical identities of President Trump and his rival, the former Vice President and sidekick of President Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden. Lastly, I will show you that the Lubavitcher Rebbe actually revealed many of these truths, although nobody picked up on it until now. If there is time, I will also share with you what is behind the current pandemic. You shall see. I've been studying Jewish eschatology for almost 40 years, and I have hundreds of sources to back everything I plan to say. In these short talks, though, we will have to skip the sources. If there is interest, I will share them with you in future talks. Let's begin by reading from the book of Daniel. Daniel was born in Jerusalem and was taken captive as a young boy by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar shortly before the destruction of the first temple 2,462 years ago. He lived through the 70 years of exile and served as advisor to Babylonian and Persian kings. He lived to witness the building of the Second Temple 350 years before the Common Era. The secret of the end, the Kates, The time of the coming of the Messiah was revealed to Daniel in code. However, the keys to decipher the code was denied to him. Let's read from the last chapter of Daniel, paraphrasing and with some commentary when necessary. At the time of the end, there will be a decree against the Jewish people, the likes of which have never been seen. The angel Michael, the defender of the Jews, will stand up against the Satan, and the Jews will be saved because they are inscribed in the book. But you, Daniel, must obscure these things and seal your book until the time of the end. Then permission will be given to unlock these secrets. Daniel was standing on the banks of the Tigris River, a river that originated almost 6,000 years ago in the Garden of Eden, as recorded in the beginning of the book of Genesis. Today, it flows from Turkey into the Persian Gulf and is surrounded by Iran and Iraq, which is very significant, as we shall see later. In his prophetic vision, Daniel sees the angel Gabriel hovering over the river. On one side of the river stands the spiritual guardian of Esau, son of Isaac, and the guardian of Western Christian civilization. On the other side stands the guardian of Ishmael, son of Abraham, guardian of the Arabian and Islamic world. Daniel continues, I addressed Gabriel, who was dressed in white linen garments. Sir, when exactly will the elusive end of the Jewish exile occur? I then observed him raise his right and left hands toward the heavens and swear in the name of God. After 2.5 times, the torment of the Jewish nation will finally cease. Daniel continues, My master, I do not understand. What does 2.5 times mean? Have I not told you that these things are meant to be obscured and sealed until the end of time? And at that time, the angel continues, many will be refined and will have clarity, but there will also be wicked people who seek to destroy everything. The wise will see this very clearly. Gabriel continues, and now let me reveal to you another number which you will not understand until you are resurrected at the end of time. Starting from when a sinful disgrace was placed upon the Temple Mount, count 1,290 years. Fortunate are those who patiently await for 1,335 years. And that is the end of the book of Daniel. Now, let us begin to decipher these codes. First, why are there two dates, 1,290 and 1,335 years? The great mystics have already revealed this. The soul of the Messiah will descend after 1,290 years and begin preparations for the redemption in earnest. Subsequently, that soul will depart this world and then return to bring about the final redemption sometime before 1,335 years have elapsed. The first time he is called Mashiach ben Yosef, Messiah, the son of Joseph, because Yosef's true identity was concealed from his brothers. The Messiah too will not reveal his identity the first time around. The second time his soul descends, either in the same resurrected body or in another body, to finish the job, he is called Mashiach ben David, Messiah, the son of David, and his identity will be known. Incidentally, there's another prophet who revealed that we actually will not have to wait until the very end of the 1,335 years. God speaks through the mouth of Isaiah in the end of chapter 60 of his book. Hakoten yila elef v'hatzor l'goy otzum ani Hashem v'ito achisheno. The small nation will in the future become a mighty force. I am God, and I will bring this about before the very end of the time. God is assuring us that we will not have to wait till the very end of the 1,335 years. Now, let's proceed to uncover when these 1,290 and 1,335 years will commence. Actually, Gabriel says exactly when they commence. He says, start counting from the time a sinful disgrace was placed upon the Temple Mount. It was assumed by the great early biblical commentators, Rashi and the Ramban, that the angel is referring to the actual destruction of the Second Temple in the year 69, or possibly to the erection of a temple to the Roman god Jupiter by Hadrian, emperor of Rome, somewhere around the year 120. Hadrian attempted to rip out of the hearts of the Jews any hope of ever returning to Jerusalem and building their temple.
So if I
A pagan temple on the site of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. He also renamed Jerusalem Aelia Capitolina. He did this to link Jerusalem to Capitoline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome, upon which another temple to the pagan god Jupiter already stood. He also forbade upon the punishment of death for any Jew to step foot in Jerusalem. He made an exception for Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Jewish month of Av, the day on which we mourn the destruction of the first and second temples. On that day, the Romans allowed the Jews to enter Jerusalem and witness firsthand why they are fasting and mourning. Hadrian's decree remained in force until it was rescinded by the Islamic Arabian Caliph Umar when he took the city from the Christians in the year 637. Hadrian also changed the name of the land of Israel to Palestine in order to erase any connection of the Jews to this land. The Pelishtim, the Philistines, were ancient enemies of the Jews who occupied the Gaza Strip and harassed the Jews for hundreds of years. In an attempt to pour more salt on our wounds, Hadrian decided to rename our land after our biblical enemies. The Pelishtim were finally crushed by King David and sent into oblivion by Nebuchadnezzar. Parenthetically, it is assumed that Thomas Jefferson, when he was serving as Secretary of State to President George Washington, named Capitol Hill, the neighborhood in Washington, D.C., in which the U.S. Congress and the Supreme Court are located, after Capitoline Hill. The symbolism is striking. Capitol Hill versus Capitoline Hill. The dream of our founding fathers was that the United States of America will finally detach Western civilization from its pagan and godless Roman roots to become a nation under God, striving to live up to the ideals of the loving and compassionate true God of the universe as expressed in the Bible. In any case, the Messiah did not arrive in the years 1404 or 1445, that is 1290 or 1335 years after the destruction of the Holy Temple, or after the construction of Hadrian's pagan temple on the Temple Mount. In fact, that time period was a horrible time for the Jews. Many massacres occurred all over Europe. The Inquisition was established, and a large and prominent Jewish community numbering several 100,000 souls was cruelly kicked out of Spain for the sin of not converting to Christianity. They had been living there for over 1,400 years since the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. However, Rashi and the Ramban were not entirely wrong. Something very messianic did actually occur at the end of that century. On October 12, 1492, the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus set foot on what was destined to become the greatest and most moral country in the history of Western society. We'll get to that later. So when does the 1290 and 1335 period actually begin? Stay tuned to the next video.
I guess I'm going to play the next video.
If you feel that you must, Greg. I support this.
Let's see. Next video is 7 minutes long, and then
we'll discuss a little bit, and then we'll take a look at what's going on in Iran, and then we'll probably end off by midnight.
See what happens.
Because Rafi wakes up early.
Yeah. It was about you, Rafi.
Yeah.
In this second segment of this series, I'll be revealing the correct year of the end time with the help of God. As mentioned in segment 1 of this series, the Temple of Jupiter, built by Hadrian on the Temple Mount, was destroyed by the Emperor Constantine. who embraced Christianity and made it the official religion of the Roman Empire in the early part of the 4th century. He also restored the name of the holy city to its original name, Jerusalem. But Constantine was not the nicest guy, not by a long shot. In fact, he hated the Jews who did not convert to Christianity just as much as Hadrian hated the Jews who did not accept Roman paganism. Constantine kept in place the cruel edict of Hadrian to bar the Jews from their holy city, Jerusalem. Upon the ruins of the destroyed temple of Jupiter on the Temple Mount, the Caliph al-Malik built the Dome of the Rock, which still stands today. It was completed in the year 692. It was meant to display the superiority of Islam over Christianity and Judaism. Verses from the Quran declaring the superiority of Islam and of their Prophet Muhammad over all previous prophets, including Moses, were prominently inscribed inside and outside the dome. They are there till this very day. This is a sinful disgrace to the Jewish people, to our Torah, and to our teacher Moses. It is one of our 13 cardinal beliefs that Moses was the greatest prophet of all times, bar none. His prophetic powers will not be superseded, even by Mashiach. To cast doubt on this fundamental principle undermines the immutable truth of our Torah. Now that we know what the angel Gabriel was talking about when he says to start the count from when a sinful disgrace was placed upon the Temple Mount, we have unlocked the secret of the end time. 1992 until the year 2027 is 290 and 335 years from the completion of the Dome of the Rock. That is the time frame for the coming of Mashiach. But I am not the first one to discover this. On Yud Dalet Kislev Tufshim Mem Beis, corresponding to December 10th, 1981, this amazing secret was revealed by the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Can you rewind it like 45 seconds?
Yeah.
I just got to hear something again.
Yes.
Thanks.
On Yud Dalet Kislev Tufshim Mem Beis, corresponding to December 10th, 1981, 335 years.
Wait, yeah, go
of the end time.
Yeah, like go back like 20 more seconds.
1992 until the year 2027 is 290 and 335 years.
I think he meant to say 1982, not 1992.
I think he meant to say 12.
Misspoke.
I think he meant to say 1200 and
yeah.
I just want to hear those numbers again. I guess go back like another like a minute so I can just sorry about that, folks.
Not be superseded even by Mashiach. To cast doubt on this fundamental principle undermines the immutable truth of our Torah. Now that we know what the angel Gabriel was talking about when he says to start the count from when a sinful disgrace was placed upon the Temple Mount, we have unlocked the secret of the end time. 1992 until the year 2027 is 290 and 335 years from the completion of the Dome of the Rock.
Okay. He meant 1,290 and 1,335
correct. Correct.
That's so just in case anybody was confused about that, he just forgot. Okay.
But I am not the first one to discover this. On Yud Dalet Kislev Tufshim Mem Beis, corresponding to December 10th, 1981, this amazing secret was revealed by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who instructed my friend Michal Zelikson to publicize that that year was indeed the long-awaited year of the Kates, the time of the Messiah's arrival. The Rebbe said that this was mentioned in the holy books, but he never revealed which book he was referring to. Now we know. It is the book of Daniel. Interestingly, the Rebbe revealed this secret on his anniversary. On that day, In 1928, the Rebbe married the daughter of the previous Rebbe, which enabled him to eventually assume the leadership of Chabad. In that year, the Rebbe also revealed the meaning of the verse mentioned above from the beginning of the last chapter of Daniel. At that time, there will be a decree against the Jewish people, the likes of which they never have seen. The angel Michael, the defender of the Jews, will stand up against the Satan, and the Jews will be saved because they are inscribed in the book. The Rebbe explained that the book is referring to the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, in order to silence the voice of Satan, who in Daniel's vision was trying to hold back the final redemption, which, by the way, will also spell the end of Satan's very long 5,781-year career, which began when he first appeared in the Garden of Eden in the form of the primordial serpent. The Rebbe declared that to silence the accuser, Torah scrolls should be written on behalf of all the Jewish people. To inscribe them in the book means that each individual letter should be connected to one individual Jew. There are only 304,805 letters in the Torah, so multiple scrolls would have to be written to include every single Jew. The Rebbe also explained the logic of this endeavor as follows. There is nothing more detrimental to the health of the Jewish people and the actualization of the redemption than pir halavaves, divisiveness and strife between Jewish individuals and groups. What we all have in common is our precious Torah. If Jews will unite in this project which centers on the Torah, which binds us together, we will create the healthy environment necessary to usher in the final redemption. From that point on, until the Rebbe suffered a stroke on March 2nd, 1992, he did not stop encouraging and pleading to all those who were willing to listen, to do everything possible to prepare for and hasten the redemption. As we know, on Saturday night, June 12, 1994, the Rebbe's soul ascended on high. However, he did much to prepare us for that tragic event in the preceding years. On Chav Ches Nisan Tavshin Nun Aleph, corresponding to April 11th, 1991, the Rebbe shocked his listeners by informing them that he had done whatever he can to inspire people to prepare for and hasten the redemption, and he will soon be leaving us on our own to complete the job. Now, it is up to us. The time to accomplish this is very short. As mentioned earlier, the final deadline is 2027. But we also mentioned earlier, based on Isaiah end of chapter 60, that the redemption must occur sometime before the very final deadline, perhaps a few years prior. So time is really tight. In the next segment, I will explain why, based on the above and many other prophecies that I will share with you, there is not the slightest doubt that President Donald J. Trump will be granted another 4 years in tomorrow's elections. He is the only one who can pound the final nails into the coffin of exile and complete the job entrusted to him 3,610 years ago, as will be explained. I will also explain why he faces such enormous opposition and hatred from all sides, the likes of which we have never seen against any U.S. president in history. I will also reveal to you that Joe Biden is much older than you think. He is planning to celebrate his 78th birthday this month, but he goes back much further. Not 78 years, not even 780 years. His soul is actually 5,780 years old. Please stay tuned.
What's interesting, folks, is that this is right before the
2020
the 2020 election, where, well, we know Trump was in fact chosen to become the president. So on that aspect, he was right. He was also right, the rabbi, that Trump would get another 4 years, right, to set things right. He knew that he knew that Trump was going to have a second term. So he was right on both things, just a little differently than he had expected.
In a way, it's good. In a way, I mean, I think even Trump said it himself. In a way, it's good that he had this, time off, so to speak, that people could see what's really up. and now he has, I don't want to say he has carte blanche, but now he has kind of a mandate to, and also the understanding of the people that to do what he needs to do. You know, and the fact that we see this stuff in Los Angeles. I mean, these people represent, I don't know, 1% of the country. I mean, it can't be that even like sensible Democrats, people we call quote unquote sensible liberals, will. I'm not talking about politicians. I'm talking about just like the everyday man that you see will agree with this, you know, orc behavior.
Bro, I really hurt this one leftist. Like, can I just tell you something? I think this is today or yesterday. I can't even remember.
This was like in person this happened?
No, this is a comment I made.
Yeah.
On this guy in England, some kind of UK red, some kind of. You got to see this guy. Hold on, I'm gonna find the comment. Like, you know, sometimes you make a comment and it's like surprising. Every piece of garbage decided to respond. That shows me that I really hit. I'm really over the target. So there's this guy. Hang on, I'll tell you what he writes. His name is Red Collective. He's a British communist. You got to see what this guy looks like. It looks like
this is like the real him. How do you know it's like the real him?
I don't know. I've never heard of this guy outside of this like account.
I'm looking for your comment.
I'll read it. Let me tell you what his comment is first. I responded to him.
Yeah.
He wrote, "It's over, Israel. Your days of playing the victim are done. The world has woken up and finally realized that you have infinitely more in common with Hitler than any of his victims. You, in capitals, are the Nazis. You, in capital, are the terrorists. You are the cancer. Fuck you," he writes. So and he shows footage of like some kind of rally, I guess in London, I'm supposing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's mostly just a bunch of commies and Pakistanis. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote to him, and you know, this is purportedly happening now, you know, in tandem with with what's going on in LA, right? So I wrote, "This is a collection of paid losers with no values or purpose. If someone paid them to turn on you, they do it in a heartbeat. The world isn't standing with you. Your entire crowd is an aggregate of the most obnoxious and despised dregs. The real world utterly rejects you."
Yeah.
So he surprisingly he responded with just a picture of me. Right? The picture that I have on my profile. He just writes the absolute effing state and then just shows a picture of me. So he didn't say anything about what I said. Look at me. Look at this guy's ugly, therefore he's wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's, and then he really got it over the head because all these other people responded like with a picture of him, like, dude, you shouldn't be like look at you. You shouldn't really talk about people's looks.
Yeah.
But every troll, every bot, and every Islamist on Twitter like went ape shit, and they like really struck a nerve.
Yeah.
One guy is just like, "You look like a Jew."
To you or to him?
No, to me.
No,
but
I saw that. I saw this.
You know, the thing is, like, I can't even respond to any of these people because he blocked me.
Yeah.
Because the guy who, you know, the commenter, he's like, he has a pretty big account. He's like 66,000 followers. The Red Collective UK.
Yeah.
He blocked me as soon as I made that comment. That's such a faggy thing to do, by the way. And all these guys do it. They make a comment, then they block you so you can't respond. It's just commies, Islamists, they're so faggy.
Yeah.
So scared. They're so sensitive. They can't take shit. They can't take jokes. They can't take they're such pussies,
Yeah. Listen,
and they're no fun, and they're no fun.
unfortunately, man, uh, even the best, and I think I mentioned this to you, the best intentioned, people who are in fact trying to connect to Torah and to God, they sometimes get caught up with or find themselves in the company of so-called, self-styled liberal Jews or Jews in name only. And what happens is,
Dear Greg, thank you for reminding me that there are Jews who are. I almost forgot that there are Jews who are
yeah.
socialists and communists for
But
two
I
seconds.
know, but
Thank you for
what I want to say is not about that. I want to say that what I'm noticing in the space of Orthodox people who are trying to find their own way, which I'm kind of I find myself in that space only because I'm also like, you know, coming from the secular world. So again, there's like this whole like collective of people who are just kind of like that we're basically meeting at a particular point and we're coming from different places. And a lot of them have taken on like I don't want to say like ideologies, but like for example, I can have a conversation with somebody and you know they're telling me, "Oh, I don't look at I try not to watch news so much. I try not to look at social media. I haven't really been looking at all the discussion about Israel since October 7th." And then they use like terminology like it's triggering to me. This is not a commie or lefty person. This is just a person who like spends time around these people, whether they work with them or work. This is like, work under them or whatever it is, and they've adopted the lashon. They've adopted the
yeah.
vocabulary, and it's like it's almost like they don't even have. Again, because these kids they grew up Orthodox, right? So they grew up with certain ways of thinking or ways of speaking that somebody tried to ingrain in them, right? And so now they're trying to create their own thing, but what are they doing in the process? They're not really creating their own thing. They're just adopting wording and ideology of other people who do not necessarily hold by the Torah or God, right? So they don't even know what triggering means, or they're just saying it like, oh, they can't have a conversation because they're not, they don't have enough emotional intelligence to handle a conversation about reality. And so it triggers them.
Like John Candy in Volunteers, where he gets indoctrinated by the
Yeah.
Marxist guerrillas.
Yeah.
Remember
No,
his-
that's literally what this is. Even though they don't believe it, they don't believe it. Like this lady told me, we were just talking. She overheard me talking about Israel. We were at this, Shavuot retreat, and she was asking me. She's like, you know, she goes to me something along the lines of, she's like, listen, I'm not arguing. Like, she's like, I'm not trying to go against you. I believe what you're saying, but like the cream of the crop of liberal Jews say that
Like
we have
they.
it. Yeah, exactly. That we have who I kind of like, I'm surrounded by at work, say that there's starving children in Gaza, and I go to her, what starving children? I mean, if they are starving, it's because Hamas intercepts all the food and then they shoot anybody in the legs or throw bricks
And videotape it.
yeah, and videotape it. No, she's like, no. So that's the thing. She goes, so how do we know though? I'm like, how do we know? I'm telling you how I know. Telegram and Twitter. It's not going to be posted on the
Yeah,
mainstream
the
media.
Hamas posts the
Yeah,
videos of them
yeah,
beating and shooting
yeah.
their own people for stealing a little bit of food.
Yeah, and she goes, I believe you, and she's like, she's like, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch those, like, I don't watch anything because it's just, like, she's like, I feel like it pollutes I'm like, I get it, it pollutes your soul,
Okay, so
whatever
if
it
you
is.
don't, so can I yell at her for a second? So
Yeah,
if you don't watch it, then you don't have an opinion. You shouldn't
yeah.
have an opinion.
No, she wasn't having an opinion. She was asking me. She was genuinely asking. She wasn't forming an opinion, and she wasn't stating an opinion. She was genuinely asking me. And I told her, I'm like, listen, like, and this is a person who has relatives who live in Israel, who live in. I told her, I'm like, and I'm like, she knows what I do for a living. import wine from Judea and Samaria, right? And I told her she didn't even know that, like, you know, the road 60 that go it's called the Derech Havot, the highway 60 in Judea and Samaria,
Yeah.
is literally called that because that is the road that our forefathers and foremothers traveled up and down, which is it goes through Hebron and it goes through Shiloh and it goes through Beit El and it goes through, you know, all these Har Grizim and Har Brachot. It's like the Torah road. Literally, it should just be called Torah Road, Highway, Torah Highway. I don't know, road,
Yeah.
Bible Highway. She didn't know. She didn't even know that. There's people grew up Orthodox. This girl lived in Crown Heights. I think she still. Oh no, she used to live in Crown Heights.
Dude, there's a
They
lot
don't
of,
know. They just
there's
don't
a,
know.
there's a lot. Look, in this generation,
Yeah.
even the Orthodox community, there's a lot of ignorant people.
Yeah, no, I
There's a lot
know.
of people who are not given
Yeah.
basic education.
Yeah.
If they slip through the cracks, a lot of
Dude,
people.
dude, to me, can I mean, I think I mentioned this many times on this program, and I told you many times publicly and privately, and the answer is always when I say it, oh, so why am I still in America? Like, to me, like, and you could say that it's like not like a crutch, but it's like, you know, when I talk to especially Chabad people in America, and I tell them this, they always tell me the same thing. They tell me, "Oh, you should be able to make, uh, you know, anywhere in the world. You should turn the whole thing of Chabad. You should turn wherever you are into the land of Israel." And I tell them two things, and I say to them, for me, this is just me, Tzvi.
Yeah.
There is no Torah with outside of the land of Israel, without and or outside of the land of Israel. And the second thing I say is, as much as I've tried, and I have tried, believe me, I've tried, I cannot, for the life of me, turn any place outside of Israel into Israel. For many reasons. I've tried, I can't do it. And I feel like I'm just like completely literally like a fish out of water. It's very it makes me very sad. It you know, at best I was thinking the other day, you know, that it's almost like I'm just by virtue of what I'm doing for a living or trying to do for make a living out of it. It's almost like I'm an emissary of the land of Israel in America, let's say, right? Just by virtue of like all this grapes and all this stuff, right? The land base. But for me, without the land, without the earth, there literally is no Judaism.
Okay, so I
It,
I I
it,
know
it
I know.
and I'll say one more thing about this. And it kills me to see Jews, like people who follow the Torah and mitzvahs here, let's say in America, who are completely, seemingly, maybe they're not okay, but it looks like they're okay with the fact that they're okay with that. They're okay with their themselves not being in the land of Israel, and somehow they live a life according to Torah or follow Torah. Or, I don't know. To me, it's so empty and almost, I don't want to use the word pointless, but it's almost pointless. It's what the Rambam said. The Rambam said it's as if you have no God. I think the Gemara said it. I don't remember what. Rambam said it's like your practice, you know, outside the land of Israel. It's as if you have no God.
So listen, this can of worms that you're discussing right now
Yeah.
is just that, and I want to say I
I don't
disagree
mean
with.
to, I don't mean. Listen, it's just
No,
how.
no, just hold on. I disagree with you in the strongest possible terms of what you just said.
Okay.
I don't think we can talk about it in this conversation.
I mean, it's not a question of disagree agree. It's just a matter of like how one, you know, this is just what my soul tells me. It's not like I want it to be this way.
Okay,
You know
no,
what I'm
this
saying?
okay, fine for yourself.
Like I'm in pain right now, dude.
Okay, I understand. So
Like I could be in Israel and I can have a rocket flying in my face and I'd still be I'd be have a smile from ear to ear. I'm in pain. When I'm
Okay.
outside of Israel, I'm in pain. I'm in physical pain.
Okay,
Every nanosecond.
I respect your personal emotional feelings,
That's
right?
emotional, spiritual.
But I don't. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
dude.
No,
But
it's yeah.
I understand that, but I think that what you said about Torah outside the land of Israel and of it being pointless.
It's not pointless. It's just
Grossly
there's
untrue and unfair.
no,
I don't want
you're
to get into it now.
I think there's for me, there's deficiencies because of things that are missing. Again, land-based mitzvot that are so big, and it's not only so big, it's so incredible that for the first time now in 2,000 years, we're able to do them again. Even if we don't have a temple, there's other things that we can now do, and it's incredible, and we can't do them. Dude, you know that I have a friend who gives his father gives tours in Israel. He's a tour guide in Israel, and American Jews come and he gives tours to people from New York and other places, and he gave a tour of like vineyards or whatever it was, right? And this lady said, "But how do you deal with the problem of Shemitah?" And he said, "What do you mean the problem of Shemitah? You mean the opportunity of Shemitah, right?" She's like, "I understand. I know what you mean. But what do you mean? You know what I mean when I say the problem? Like basically the people who keep Shemitah, like winemakers, farmers, they're losing money that year because of whatever." She kept going on with it, the problem of Shemitah, the problem, the problem, the problem. And he's just like, it's not a problem. It's a mitzvah. It's an opportunity. It's something we haven't been able to do in 2,000 years. So it's like, that's missing. When you're here, that's missing. All that's missing, dude. That's all I'm saying. It's not pointless. Obviously, it's not pointless. There's so much missing, though.
Look, you have to. I really didn't want to get into this topic because it's a very long conversation if you're going to do it right.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm not even going to say but because it's going to lead to one. It's going to lead. We have to get off this topic and maybe pick it up in our next conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? No, I guess we have to do it now because you open this can of worms. God set things up in a way. He spread us out all over the world, and he treated us really bad.
Yeah.
But he still wanted us to have families and to try to make a living somehow, right?
Sure.
And Israel is not friendly.
I agree,
to all
man.
of the Jewish people. It's
I
not
agree
friendly
with
to
you.
most of them.
That's
It's hostile to us outside of Israel.
I'm not denying what you're saying.
Okay, so
But when you say not friendly, like no, I mean, if you want to make the case that there's,
I'm going to explain what I mean.
It's difficult to make income. That's I agree.
I'm going to explain. No, I'm
only talking about myself. I'm not forcing anybody to like.
I'm going to explain what I mean. I'm going to explain what I mean. All right.
Okay.
It's hostile economically, politically, culturally. Okay? The people who started Israel, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to create a secular, devoid of spirituality, Mediterranean tourist, some kind of like beach paradise.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't want religious people there.
I agree with you.
Didn't want,
but despite all that, it's just became the Torah capital of the world.
Okay, I know.
Despite all that, it's happening. Everything that's happening in Israel today is despite all the stuff that you're talking.
I understand. Okay, so the stuff, the few religious people who were left over after the Holocaust, who got there and who had to fight through that evil secularism, right, where they're trying to suck the soul out of the country and out of the people and try to turn the women into whores, and to turn them, everybody into a some kind of like intellectual platonic elite, right? And that it didn't work out the way they wanted it to, but the people who got there, the actual majority of the population who were fleeing, Jews fleeing from all the Arab countries, and the people who were fleeing Europe, the survivors from the Holocaust, okay, they were just trying to get there and to live in this underdeveloped, hostile place. Okay, they were literally just trying to survive, and just live after World War II.
Okay.
And then constantly getting attacked by Arabs. It's a horrible place to be. The people who ended up there, they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
They literally had nowhere else to go.
I feel you.
Okay, and they came, and the whole place was being run by people who are hostile to 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 anybody who wants to make a decent living, capitalism.
Yeah.
And they were hostile to anybody who wanted to practice religion. Like there's so much opposition. See, the way things turned out was miraculous. Fine, okay. So the way that people got there, it was all orchestrated by God. That the people who are in Israel, those are the people that God wanted to be there.
Sure.
And the people who never
There's no
got
argument
there,
there.
God sent them elsewhere.
Not only that, I think that honestly, when I think of people who make Aliyah today, including myself, first of all, it's today with all the stuff that you said, it's never been easier in terms of just physically. It used to be if a person, these rabbis who wanted to go to Israel, they got to go on a horse and buggy and go through like I don't know Ottoman
In the
Turkey.
17, 18.
Yeah. And go through like robbers and all the rest of it. Today you get if you scrape up even my friend, he's like literally he lives in this guy friend of mine he lives in he works for this organization whatever he lives in Efrat. He spends a lot of time in Hebron, and now he's saying he's flying to New York to visit his mother, so he got himself like a cheap flight with like two stops, one stop in Romania and then another stop in Norway, whatever. He's just gonna spend like a day in each thing. Even with that, it's like still relatively, quote unquote, entertaining, fun, and easier than being attacked on the way. And then finally, we heard stories of rabbis who finally got to Israel, and then as soon as they got to Israel, they went what is it on the Temple Mount, and then they were killed by an Arab and trampled by an Arab. Who was it? I think
Yeah,
it was.
I mean, these are horrible stories.
Yeah, it's a terrible story. And this is before any government, secular governments are.
Right.
So no, so what I'm saying is like today, I have, including myself and other people that I know who made Aliyah, it's really a thing of, you know, do you want to participate in, continuing to build a country, and yes, to turn, and it sounds a little bit idealistic, to turn the tide of everything that's happening. And and I learned this kind of the hard way where you're not gonna, there still is this political aristocracy in Israel for sure in the Knesset.
Horrible.
For example, like Gideon Sar, right? The one that Rabbi Kessin was talking about. He was going to be the prime minister or whatever. You know who Gideon Sar's father was? He was Ben Gurion's doctor. Okay? So shocker that Gideon Sar got to be in the
I know,
Knesset.
these
What do you
guys,
freaking do? Do you know who Bibi's grandfather was a big rabbi who was with Rav Kook, one of the founding rabbis of pre-state Israel. And then his father was a famous professor, and then he was his brother was a famous, Yonatan was a famous commander who died, and then Bibi got to be whatever, somehow in there. So it's like nobody just, comes from the outside. Even like Lieberman supposedly is some like former whatever guy, right? He was with Kahana, or he was with, I don't know. Some people think he was in general with the KGB, whatever. It's a lot of speculations about Lieberman. So like Yair Lapid was on television. His father was in the Knesset, who hated religious people. Bennett, who was it was a startup guy who made $40 million and then somehow got into politics. You can't just like, that meme. One does not simply get into Israeli politics. Okay, it's not for the people by the people. But at the same time, you can come there, and I've seen it, and I did it myself to some measure before. I won't get into why I had to come back to America, not by choice. You can carve out your own thing there. You can. Not
Ask you a
everybody.
question. How can I carve out let's talk about me. Let's talk about me right now.
Yeah,
I don't know how I'm going to pay this month's rent.
I feel you.
How the hell would I be able to go in Israel right now?
Well,
with my
Frank. Well,
lifestyle?
Frank, can I tell you something? No, I'm not telling you to go to Israel.
No, but I represent the
so
people
so I will just tell you. I'll tell you one thing.
most of us are dealing with.
I'll tell you one thing, Frank. I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm only implying this to myself, and it's something that I've seen with myself. I don't know if the same would be true for you, because I'm not a prophet and I can't make that calculation. I noticed this, that when I'm in Israel, physically in Israel, whether it was when I was living there or whenever I'm visiting there, and when I visit there, I usually visit for a month or two. And the minute I touch down there, something starts happening with my prospects in terms of career. I don't want to say career, but just like, something to do with my mission in this world, which includes income, by the way. I get phone calls, I get somebody messages me, I meet somebody, da, 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 and it's only happens in Israel. With regards to what's been happening in America, what I've been doing, with my business, there's a reason that I'm doing something that's connected to Israel. Because what I found was anytime I've tried to do anything since I got back from Israel in 2013, since I got back here, anytime I tried to do anything not connected to Israel, something to do with what I was previously doing in my, in my career, in my life, or anything new, quote unquote, just to something that would like keep me in America, literally has crashed and burned monumentally. So anything not connected to Israel or anything outside of Israel has
You're
been.
talking about your personal mazel.
I know, no. That's why
asked you.
I just said that
I asked
to
you
you.
a question
No,
about.
no. So what I'm saying
That,
is,
yeah.
what I'm saying is, I don't know what would happen with you. I don't know.
Right.
But no, no. So let me just finish. But it's entirely possible. It's possible. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's possible that it may be that if nothing, absolutely nothing you're trying here in America is working as you've described, that's been the case. It's possible it may be worth a shot, even if it falls flat on its face over there. It might. I've seen people where they tried over there, also over there, nothing worked, and they came back with tail between legs to America.
Okay, I'm going to ask my question again. I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think I maybe I didn't communicate it correctly.
Okay.
How am I going to get my wife and my child over to Israel? How am I going to find a place for them to live and to eat?
Sir, my answer will be the answer that I'm going to give to you in terms of my experience. Before I made Aliyah, I did not know the answer to any of those questions, and I had a baby on the way. I did not know the answer to any of those questions, and you know what happened? I'm just telling you from my personal experience. I don't have the answer to your question, nor did I have the answer to my own questions. I got on a plane. I landed in Israel in the heat of August. My ball, in the words of Greg Giraldo, my balls were sticking to the inside of my legs. They were. I started looking for a job. It was the Hagim, the entire country, including Tel Aviv. All the offices were closed. All the companies were closed. I got an interview in the middle of Chol Hamoed Sukkot, and they gave me a job where I started right after Sukkot.
Okay, where's your lady at this point during this
Which lady?
entire?
Which
You said you had a kid on the way.
Yeah, no, she
Where's
was
your lady?
no, she was already living in Israel. No, like she came to.
She was already living in
No,
Israel.
she came to. No, but dude, she came to stay with me, and then she wasn't making any porno. So who was the breadwinner? Mr. Brand New Ole.
No,
Mr.
dude,
Greg.
you skipped you skipped the primary step. You're not going to just gloss over that shit.
What primary
I'm
step?
going to give you a hard time right now.
Okay.
Your lady was already in Israel.
But she wasn't.
A guy like me, who let's
Okay.
say wants to move his family to Israel,
Okay.
the hardest part is getting your lady to go to Israel.
Yes.
Your lady was already there. That's it. End of story. Do you understand? That's the hardest part, to get your lady to go there.
She's not there anymore, by the way. Just FYI.
You understand, dude?
Yeah,
Stop
I get
busting
what
my
you're saying.
balls.
I'm not
Okay,
busting your
you
balls.
understand what I'm
No.
saying? Okay,
I get what you're saying.
If your lady was in America, trust me, that
I'm
shit
in
wouldn't
full.
have happened.
I'm in
Okay?
full admission that it's easier, obviously, to make Aliyah if you are
When your lady's already there.
No, no,
I
no,
agree.
no, no. When you're if you're a single, forget about ladies already there. If you're a
I'm
single,
not. I wasn't treating you like a single man. I was treating you like a man who had a lady with a child on the way.
I understand.
Okay? So
By the way,
again,
by the way, when I did that,
yeah.
even if that lady was there and there was a child, dude, it was literally, ask anybody that knows me, and my parents included, they were watching me do this. It was, and I'm telling you because I went through it. It was literally probably the thing that got me to like go from being like a 13-year-old in my head to like literally whatever age I was, 30. It was the hardest and most growth experience of my life. It if you want to talk about Shvir Sakalim, like breaking of vessels in so many
Yeah.
levels, I arrive in Israel. I don't speak, Hebrew. Luckily half the conversations I'm having with these like government people is in Russian, these offices. Renting an apartment, this, that, everything is like literally ass backwards balagan
When you got
disaster.
to okay, dude, listen,
Yeah.
listen. When
And
you
by the
got
way, she didn't make it things easier. The lady I was with. I'm just saying.
just answer a couple of simple questions.
Yeah.
I like to get things down to what they call brass tacks. Just
Okay.
listen for a
Okay.
second, okay?
Okay.
The mechanics.
Yeah.
When you came to Israel, where did
Yeah.
you go to stay?
Where did I go to stay?
When you got off the plane and you got into a cab.
In a tiny apartment the size of a closet, which I ended up having to pay for.
I didn't ask the size of the apartment. I said, where did you go?
This lady's apartment.
Ah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yes.
I don't care if it's a freaking
But it
hut.
wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
I'm not saying it was easy, but you had a place to go already.
I would have had one had I came by myself. Yeah.
There was a person there.
Yeah.
Who was already there with a place.
Dude, can I tell you something?
Turkey.
I want to tell you something very simple. People that I know who made Aliyah, let's say there was either the husband convinced the woman or vice versa, they didn't just get on a plane and, oh, we're gonna find a place when we get. No, they looked for. There's ways to look for places while you haven't arrived yet. There's an organization called Nefesh from Nefesh that helps you look for an apartment before you get to Israel.
Look,
it's not you're not going into like
let's cut
Mars.
To the chase. Let's cut to the chase. You need to have some.
You need to have money. Yeah,
you gotta have money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you gotta be, but you
they give you a couple of bucks. They give you like $7,000 to start.
They don't. Yeah, but that's not.
That's nothing.
Not,
yeah.
No.
You go through this like this.
Yeah. You can't just go. Look, you can't. There's a lot of people in the world, Jews and non-Jews, who are living barely paycheck to paycheck.
Correct. But I'm not talking about those people. The
Okay,
people
so-
that
so-
the
so-
pe- dude, the
right, so
people
you've
that I talk to.
excluded- you've
What I'm
the
saying is
majority
I
of the Jews.
I speak to the people that I speak to, who I'll sometimes be invited to these well-to-do people's houses for Shabbat, and we get on the topic of Israel. Usually, I'm not the one that brings it up. Somebody else asks me like about to tell. They want to know about me. They want to know about Tzvi. So I tell them, I used to live in Israel. And then when I mention that, usually it's the husband, the host. Oh, one day, and I'm looking at him like when he says one day, I call it the Matisyahu effect. The song one day, one day. So he says, it's a song by Matisyahu, one day. He's singing about Mashiach, right? Yeah. So he says one day, and I'm looking at his house, and I know what he does for a living, and I'm like, I'm thinking, I don't want to attack the guy, so I'm just like, one day. I mean, listen, I don't know the guy's challenges. I don't know, maybe there's stuff keeping him, maybe there's business, whatever it is. But I'm like, this guy could just get up today and go.
Could we stop talking about those kind of people and talk about people like me? There's more people like me than more.
And by the way, I don't tell people like you. I don't tell people like you, oh, just go. I don't. I do not tell any people with families who are struggling, who don't know what's going to be and how they're going to this. I don't tell any of those types of people to go. At best, I tell singles who are just like, whatever, like they can't find their soulmate or whatever. They can't find them here. So I'm like, maybe try Israel. That's what I say. I don't bother people with that stuff, bro. So I have my own whatever.
Okay, so aside from just going through the mechanics of this discussion, I wanted to present a possible point, which is that if God wanted all of the Jewish people to be in Israel, he wouldn't have created the type of circumstances that exist.
For sure.
Okay? And if Israel wanted, the people in Israel or the government of Israel wanted all the Jews to be living in Israel, right?
You're right.
He would have said, okay, you ever see that movie Far and Away with I think that's what it's called, with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. Remember, they're like Irish immigrants. They come to the United States and they end up, America is expanding. They want people to have, so they go stake your land, right? Like there's a race. You can go and pick yourself a piece of land. It's free.
They would have done that, yeah.
You know what I mean?
For Jews,
or here's a caravan. Here's like a container house to start with, right? Here's your land and go live, and you're welcome to come. Okay. Nobody's doing that.
They kind of, can I tell you something? They kind of did that. When they did that in Israel, they did that during the first, like in the 1800s and the early, before the state, basically, when the first Yeshuvim, that was kind of happening. That's actually how Tel Aviv was founded. They drew lots on like a beach. If you read the story of founding of Tel Aviv, like 19 whatever, 09 or something.
You're the one of
After
the lucky ones, okay?
no, no, I'm saying after this, basically you had to get in early. You know what I mean?
Okay.
After that, after a certain point, that's it.
So the question, so are we sinners for not
No.
for not going there and okay. Um, so the question remains, well, why is God doing this? Is it possible that he wants there to be Jews spread throughout the world to be centers of information
For sure.
for Torah for people who want to come and
For
learn
sure.
Torah, especially as you get
For
closer
sure.
to the times of Mashiach. There's more and more interest. There's more and more people who want to learn
Yeah.
from Jewish people about the
Yes.
Torah.
Yes.
Not just Jewish people in general, but specifically Torah knowledge, right?
Yes.
And that's we preserved that for thousands of years. One of the main reasons is to help non-Jewish people who have questions.
Yeah.
We can teach them. We've been preparing for this for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. So it seems that that's the setup that God set up.
I'm in full agreement with you, Frank, and which is precisely why I feel like Hashem is torturing me because on the one hand, like he made me in such a way where part of me is like a Chabad guy who wants to do exactly that, who's inclined to do exactly that, and then and there's another part of me which just wants to be, in like again like in somewhere near Shiloh with his own vineyard, and that's
So
it.
you might be one of those few
Yeah.
special individuals chosen to live in the land of Israel.
No, that's what I'm saying, and no, but at the same time, I'm in full agreement with you that there needs to be this, it's called ufaratsta, as Chabad calls it, spread out and go
Right.
teach Torah to people and all that stuff. Like I'm all for it, and you know, while I'm here, I try to do that in my own tiny way. I'm nowhere near any of the Chabad rabbis that I know. I'm nowhere near any of these people. I don't know. Dude, can I tell you something? I was sitting on Shavuot. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, and we were sitting in a campfire, and behind me, and I mean, people, they're singing. Random people are singing random songs, like different Jewish songs, and usually people sing the songs that everybody knows, right? And it doesn't matter how you grew up in the Orthodox world. There's songs that everybody like knows what they are. And then behind me, there's two girls. They start singing, and I knew one of them was Chabad. I could tell one of them is from like Crown Heights. They start singing the Chabad version of the Hanukkah song. When you light the
Yeah.
Hanerot.
Yeah.
No, and they sang the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like the whole straight through, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there, dude. I literally started, it like hit me like a ton of bricks. I started sobbing, and it hit me like a ton of bricks and I said, Hashem, I want to be like, I didn't mean it in a cute way. I meant it in like literal way. I want to be a husband of the Rebbe. Please help me to be a husband of the Rebbe. Like it hit me like a ton of bricks that I realized because I was singing along with them, and it was just us three. Like there's a bunch of people there, so there's these two Chabad girls singing that song and me. And then I turned around as a joke. I was like, this needs to be more Lubov, not Lubov enough, like whatever. Everybody else is just like clueless, a couple of other people. And I'm just like, wow, I'm Chabad. I am Chabad. Like I told this girl, I'm like, you should know, I'm, my friends make fun of me that I go to these, all the Chabad holidays. I go to these for bring-ins. I go, I make sure to go. I go on 19th of Kislev. I go on a Tevis. I go on.
Yeah, you're better at that stuff than I am.
Yeah. You notice I flew in and I'm like, guys, is there for bring-in the day I fly in, or is it for bring-in that I have to plan my flight around the for bring-in.
Yeah.
And then we went for like 5 minutes just to make, just to say that we were there, whatever, next to you. So like, I'm all about it, man. I'm all about it. It's just my soul needs to be in the land at the end of the day. I'm all about people doing all that stuff. But, like,
so when are you going?
Dude, that the Rebbe told certain people who met him in private, he told this Rabbi Schloss, he told him, his name is Moshe, your place, he told him to go to the old city of Jerusalem in 1982 when psychos were buying apartments there, basically no one, and go live there. And your place is there, and you're going to host students, and you're going to teach them Hasidus and be an emissary of the Rebbe in your apartment in the old city of Jerusalem. And now if you go to this guy's house and you go up to his roof, you could see the entire, Temple Mount from there. I asked him, Rabbi Schloss, if you wanted to sell this apartment, how much do you think it would? He's like, it would be stupid for me to do that, And he's like, it's priceless. He's like, I don't know, bazillions of dollars. I don't know. He's like, I'm not going to tell you what I bought it for, which is nothing at the time that I bought it. And now it's whatever. So the Rebbe told him to go, and a few other people to go. So whoever needed to go, he knew who needed to go, and he told them. So I'm pretty sure he would have told me to go. I'm sure of it. I'm sure if I met the Rebbe, he would tell me you need to go to.
When are you going?
Some things have to be figured out, Tony. And then I'm out of here.
How about Nefesh B'Nefesh? Huh?
No, that's shit, dude. That's already been. I exhausted my socialist provisions. They already gave me my stuff 15 years ago.
So,
dude, you know how quickly you could spend $5,000 on coffee?
I know.
No, on coffee.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, actually, I know.
Holy crap!
My wife was a coffee drinker.
Dude, my ex, she had to go to cafes.
Yeah, I understand.
Just like basic cafes, nothing. I swear to you, I think I spent at least $2,500 American dollars in about a 3-month span on freaking afuchim soya.
Yeah.
You know what afuchim soya is? Upside down
it's
coffee.
It's a retarded economy, and it's a retarded system of government. Okay.
At least it's real coffee.
The coffee's good.
Yes.
Listen, folks, I just wanted to say that despite all the stuff that we're saying about Israel, it's all true. Somehow the people miraculously, people live there, and people are happy. In between all that.
It's one of they do the happiness index. It's like number 8 or something, number 5.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Which is a miracle because it has nothing. It's despite everything.
Yeah.
Despite everything.
You know why? Because at the end of the day, human beings realize that everything's about when you're there, even with all the problems, it's all about meaning. Everything means something there. Something as simple as, unfortunately, maybe people like you and I, when Memorial Day in America comes around, people like you and I remember the veterans, right? The people who fought in wars. Largely in America, Memorial Day is a sale in department stores, right? Or a car sale. In Israel, you have Memorial Day, where there's like entire events memorializing people who fought in the wars.
Yeah.
And then literally the next day is Yom Ha'atzmaut. It goes from like Memorial Day to July 4th. Next day, it flips over.
Yeah.
And the previous week you have Yom HaShoah, where people remember so everything means something. Even if you disagree with the state, even if you're not like whatever into the government and all, there's meaning everywhere you go. So I think that's what gives people happiness, joy, even if they don't, even if they're living in freaking overdraft, $20 bazillion in overdraft in their bank account, which is not fun.
Yeah, I mean it's just about it's a lot of people take it for granted, right? But for Jews to be able to live in their own land miraculously, it is a almost endless source of happiness.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling freedom that it's very difficult to explain.
Yeah.
Like even us Jews here in America, especially myself, like I actually really love America.
Yeah.
Not even just like attachment to the land, which I do have, but even the founding principles and I feel patriotism and I feel pride, but I always gotta wonder, do my fellow Americans see me as an American, or am I always being suspected or something like that, right? So
yeah,
that's like I'm not saying Jews are the only ones who experience that kind of thing, but that is I think something that Jews universally experienced.
Look, can I tell you
Not
something?
having to
Yeah.
feel that way,
Yeah.
like among your own people, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying it doesn't matter who your people are, but just like let's just come up with, like Swahili people, Eskimos, whatever, but just like if you're an Eskimo, you're among Eskimos in an Eskimo land, that's priceless.
Yeah.
You understand? Like so Jews are people historically who have had the least at least for the past 2,000 years have had the least access to that.
Dude,
That's
we are
just
the
having
we are
access to that
we are
itself.
the only
is joy.
people who came back to our own land after 2,000 years, and not only came back, we literally, and you could say it's not the same spoken language that was at that, the time before, but we essentially quasi revived the dead language to everyday use, largely dead language, or only language that
I
was
don't,
used not
I
dead,
don't,
but like it was only used in the Torah, not it wasn't a
yeah, it was
spoken.
right. It was used in the Torah
We
academies through in prayer and
But the fact that we have now a colloquial national language that, like, I can go, like, I know a little bit of Hebrew and I can meet an Israeli, like, guy in, I don't know, Florida or
yeah,
California, New York. And I can speak to him in Hebrew. That's absolutely insane. It's like, it's like we might as well revive, if you saw Passion of the Caviezel, might as well revive Aramaic to everyday use. Because that's what we spoke at that time. We spoke Aramaic.
yeah,
Time of the, not just learning it in Talmud.
yeah.
It's incredible. And then on top of that, you have, like, some kind of, yeah, I don't know, as flawed as it is, and people are constantly leaving or selling their companies. We have, like, industry, we have startups, we have med tech technology, we have this, we have that. It's absolutely insane. I hate to sound like, one of these freaking whatever, the startup nation guys. Oh, but when you think about it, it's insane. And now we have, like, this military industry that, like, could rival America if we were just allowed to freaking produce our own, like, our jets and our, like, tanks and guns, and
Yeah.
it's nuts what we've been able to do.
Yeah, the whole military aspect of Israel and the arms and its relationship to America,
Yeah.
not America, folks, not the United States and not the American people, but the military and
Industrial
the
complex.
Nazi military industrial complex that's located
Yeah.
geographically on American soil,
Yeah.
embedded with the deep state, the one that's doing all the horrible things to everyone in the world. Okay, there's a some kind of devil's bargain that Israel had to deal with this particular industrial complex, where basically Israel was essentially prevented from having its own arms industry, which it could easily have.
Yeah.
But the military industrial complex doesn't want to have a competitor like Israel. So what they said was, you're gonna buy from us. We'll supply you, with what you need, and we won't arm your enemies as much.
Yeah.
And if you decide to go and have your own industry, we're gonna overwhelm you by arming all your enemies. They won't.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the fact. That's just the bottom line, folks.
And by the way, that happened during Reagan, but it wasn't courtesy of Reagan. It was courtesy of the State Department, like, despite him.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what's crazy? Like, I found out during, this whole, as soon as October 7th happened, it's incredible because I have a friend who works at, I think, a company that's in conjunction with Rafael. It's like the biggest military contractor in Israel, and he's involved in very much in the night vision technology. Like, he's really, like, on the forefront of it. He's one of the main guys. And
Yeah.
he told me that a lot of their stuff gets used, or, like, technology gets basically sold to, like, let's say, like, they're involved in doing stuff for the Korean army, South Korea. And I found it was incredible for me to find out in general that, like, for example, Israel has a shortage of bulletproof vests and night vision goggles.
Yeah.
And I asked a friend of mine, I'm like, how's this even possible? A friend of mine who delivers, the stuff to, he was raising funds here to,
There's a lot of shortages. Yeah.
He goes to me, a lot of it was given before October 7th, a lot of that stuff was given to Ukraine. So remember how like Zelensky came to the Knesset and he was just like, "Oh, you guys get Iron Dome and you have to give, somebody gives to you, you have to give to others." So what did they do? They didn't give Iron Dome, but they gave other things like night vision goggles, like all these kind of things, bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
Dude, like there's bulletproof vests that Israel gets from like Switzerland. Like I delivered bulletproof vests to Shiloh from Jerusalem in my
Yeah.
car, in my friend's car. And I asked the guy, I'm like, where did we get these? He's like, yeah, for Switzerland, Austria, all these kind of places. And we have to raise funds to buy these things.
I don't feel
Other
great.
people.
I don't feel great about the fact that Israel gave some military stuff to Ukraine, but you know what? I feel even worse about the fact of how much the Russians arm all the Arabs who want to kill us.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Which is something a lot of people overlook.
Okay. I just prefer, Israel to stay out of that, whatever, man.
Speaking
They do
of which,
everything wrong. They do everything wrong.
I know.
Okay.
Listen, speaking of Russians, I mean, we should talk about this Iran thing.
You know what? Before we get to that, we're gonna end up soon. I just wanted to say something. I just saw something that James Woods posted. Is about the passing of Brian Wilson.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that the guy from the Beach Boys. Yeah,
Yeah, he's one of the main guys from the Beach Boys. Yeah. And he said that it's kind of no, it wasn't James Woods. It was somebody that James Woods was quoting about the passing of Brian Wilson, and that person said that it's kind of like
Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan mentioned. He was quoting Bob Dylan.
This is a different one.
Oh, okay. Because Bob
This
Dylan
is somebody who was commenting on what's going on in California.
Oh.
That that his death is the symbolic of the death of what makes California California.
Yeah.
It's the
surfing
everything,
and all this stuff.
all the dreaminess, the Americanness, and that kind of West Coast kind of like those spiritual vibes that people think of. That California energy, right? Is gone because of ghouls like Newscomb, right? And Gavin Newsom, the guy who looks like Butthead. Yeah, he literally looks like Butthead.
No, to me he looks like the Eyes Wide Shut mask. That's what his face looks like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, this lady, Katya Sedgwick, she said Brian Wilson's passing is a perfect post-mortem of the California dream. Rest in peace, both.
Yeah.
And James Wood said, in light of Brian's passing, discovering videos and studio clips is such a gift to all of us who cherish his memory. I remember hearing these songs on the radio for the very first time. My God, the things we took for granted in my youth. We lived in the greatest musical era ever.
Yeah, and with that, I wanted to ask you if you wouldn't mind to play Good Vibrations.
I think this is... Oh no, this is California. Can I play I think there's a version with Full House. Like with Jesse.
I think you're talking about Kokomo.
Oh, that was Kokomo, yeah.
But there's a reason. Like there's like a specific reason why I wanted it to be Good Vibrations, because it's in line with what we were talking about earlier. And I got to tell you, like for me personally, this is definitely one of the songs that can get me lifted towards ascent.
Yeah.
They really, Beach Boys found something. They're probably a little bit Gnostic fruitcakes, and Gnostic fruitcakes, they stumble upon spiritual stuff. They don't even realize really they're dilettantes, spiritual dilettantes. But every now and then, they do open. They stumble upon things, and I think this song was one of them.
Yeah.
I love the colorful clothes you wear, and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of a gentle wind on the wind that lifts her perfume through the air. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitation. Good vibrations. She's giving me the excitation. Good vibrations. She's giving me the excitation. closer now. Softly smile, I know she must be kind. In her eyes, she goes with me to a blossom room. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. I'm picking up good vibrations. She's giving me the excitations. Good vibrations. She's giving me
Okay. That's the part of the song where they get a little bit weird and they start singing Hare Krishna, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But that piece of music is it ripped us some kind of hole in time and through the fabric of time and space, because that's one of the most beautiful sounds ever made. Like they're really on a different level. Like if you ask the Beatles who they look to, like those are the idols of the Beatles. Like those are not regular, like people, they need to be appreciated because I'm not talking about for their decisions they've made in their personal lives or anything else besides that music that they created.
These are not regular musicians.
No, and not only are they special, but they're especially American.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to say that. Okay, these are special people, and they really created something. And to me, it's a big deal because, like, growing up as a kid in Brooklyn, like I was just like dreaming about surfing in California.
Yeah.
How is surfing shaykh to me? Sorry, folks, I used the Jewish term. This is Greg usually.
Relevant.
How is it some Jewish kid in Brooklyn
connected? Yeah.
How is surf? How's being a California surfer relevant to me? It's like when I told my parents as a little kid, you don't know how people are going to make fun of you when you say something like you want to do. You know what I mean? Like Zohan, he wanted to be a hairdresser, right? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, and people like. And and to a Russian Jewish kid who's in Brooklyn who wants to be a California boy surfer, it's ridiculous. When you're a little kid, you watch movies and you hear stuff like that, and it kind of like captivates you, So somehow that's how strong that vibe is that they created.
Yeah.
And obviously, Point Break had something to do with it too.
Of course.
But
but somebody posted, there's a clip of Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. Did you see this as like cops saving Brian Wilson so he could surf again?
Yeah. You turn it on.
Yeah. I've never seen this. This is very funny.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, may I help you? Is there a Brian Wilson here? Yeah, he's upstairs in his room. Why?
We got a citation for him, ma'am. Excuse me.
We'll find him. Thank you.
Certainly is nice up here in Bel Air. A lot cooler up here than it is downtown. Let's see. I'll try this one here. Are you Brian Wilson?
Yes, I am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilson. We're from the Highway Patrol, Surf Squad.
Hello.
Brian, we have a citation here for you, sir, under Section 936A of the California Catch a Wave Statute. Brian, you're in violation of paragraph 12. Failing to surf, neglecting to use a state beach for surfing purposes, and otherwise avoiding surfboards, surfing, and surf.
Surfing? I don't want to go surfing. Now, look, you guys, I'm not going. You get your hair wet, you get sand in your shoes. Okay, I'm not going.
Come on, Brian. Let's go surfing now.
Everybody's learning how. Come on a safari with us. Come on.
Let's go. All right. Okay, let's go. Let's go surfing. Come on.
If everybody got lost across the USA, then everybody be surfing like California. You see him wearing the baggy, or I just understood a bushy blonde hair.
You know, I just realized when I learned about surfing. Do you remember the video game California Games?
No, I don't remember that.
There was a video game. I don't know if it was for Nintendo or Genesis. California Games. They had surfing in it.
I don't
I used to play
remember.
a surfing video game.
By the way, speaking about things that jog your memory, when we're watching that Good Vibrations video, right?
Yeah.
And they were like sliding down the pole, right,
Yeah.
at the firehouse.
Yeah.
And it made me think of Dan Aykroyd
Yeah.
because of Ghostbusters. Like, you know,
Yeah.
when they buy their headquarters in that firehouse, he
Yeah.
slides down the pole, right? Strange.
Yep. Yeah.
But hey, um, you know,
We were going to talk about this Iran thing.
no, I know, but I was just hold on a
I
second.
know it's all exciting.
Sorry, I just caught something. My eye caught something.
There's really nothing.
I don't see any. I don't see anything being reported.
Yeah. Basically, it just says the Pentagon is experiencing a huge surge in traffic. And for some reason, Witkoff says he still wants to meet the Iranian foreign minister in Oman
God, this
on
Witkoff
Sunday,
guy
which is, I know he's such a weirdo.
Why is Trump torturing us with Witkoff?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I really don't know.
the only thing that I
It's
feel.
the biggest mystery.
Okay.
Houthis in Yemen announced that they're heightened state of readiness and preparation. Blah blah blah. Okay, Iranian this we know they met. Blah blah
Oh no.
blah.
So okay, I remember now. Like, you know, just to go back to our discussion about like Jews inside of Israel, outside of Israel.
Yeah.
I think that when, you know, for right now, there's a lot of non-Jews who have a lot of questions about God and Torah, and they're seeking out Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's happening like everywhere in the United States and actually around the world as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that's the purpose that Jewish communities are serving right now. I'm talking about Chabad and Orthodox Jewish communities. That's what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when after Mashiach comes, after Mashiach arrives to the, you know, or reveals himself to the world, right? And the world is open and accepting. At that point, this is in the future, right? It says that Israel expands. After Mashiach comes and is revealed, Israel expands to the rest of the world, and Israel and the land of Israel as it is now and bigger actually biblically, right? That becomes Jerusalem. Okay?
Yeah.
And so at that stage, the Jewish communities that were here, what's considered now outside the land of Israel, right? Will serve, you know, we'll just have like they'll just stay there. Okay. So I'm not saying that it's Israel now. Obviously, we have to wait for Mashiach to come and the world to change, and for everybody's consciousness to rise, right? But eventually, like the Jewish communities that exist now will remain probably where they are, right? Yeah. When the world is elevated.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll need to continue, the education.
The only thing I will say, Frank, yes, generally yes, but I don't know about New York City because we have this whole situation where this guy might become the mayor. This guy, what's his name? He's basically a Hamas guy. It's Zohran Mamdani. I mean, like, if you're any kind of conscious Jew, even if you're not Orthodox, and this guy becomes the mayor of New York City, and you don't leave. I mean, I understand. I mean, Chabad people, you want to be, again, we had this conversation. You want to be by Crown Heights. You want to be by the Rebbe. You want to by the. Yo, if stuff gets hairy in a hurry in New York City, and you're intent on staying, I mean, I'm not gonna be there to, I'm not your Captain America. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
you're on
I know.
you're on your own. I tell people this.
This
You're on your
this
own.
is all just. I mean, it's most likely just a trick to get Cuomo elected.
And not and Cuomo's better.
I'm just saying, no. I mean,
Yeah.
this whole thing, like to get
Cuomo the
elected,
murderer. Yeah, of course.
right? To get Cuomo elected, you got to give him
Yeah.
somebody who's worse than
You have to
Cuomo.
scare the crap out of people with Ahmed the dead terrorist. Literally. Who walks around saying silence, I'll kill you. And it's just in any event, you have to leave New York. I mean, it doesn't whatever. We've spoken about this many times.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they're not going to do it. Okay.
Yeah. No, they're not. I
So,
know. Dude, we know what I wonder about though. Hashem made it so that, when the Soviet Union fell, about 1 million Soviet Jews, had to go to Israel. They didn't go to America. They had to go to Israel. A lot of them, some of them actually became religious, but most of them did not. And for whatever reason, God wanted those people to go to Israel, and he felt that Israel needed them, even though the people who were living in Israel at the time were like treated them like crap and gave them like forced them to like mop floors in the beginning. People with like PhDs had to mop floors.
this
This
is
is
a
the
this is a common trope
Yeah.
in Israel.
That's what it
That
was though. That's literally
I
what
mean,
happened. I mean, to a lot of people.
there were several. There were like a couple of cases where you know Jews who are from the Soviet Union who came to Israel, right? And these are highly educated people in their
Yeah.
fields, right?
Yeah.
When they just got to Israel, they were forced to do like become janitors and do manual
Yeah.
labor and
Yeah.
things like that. Like genius people who have done tremendous scientific work, right? They when they just arrived to Israel. So, but generally that trope is over dramatized.
Well, listen, eventually people got jobs. Eventually people made careers. A lot of
Yeah,
people that we know are
might have
Baruch
been a little
Hashem,
rocky at first.
successful. So no, so what I'm saying is like God clearly wanted those, basically that giant amount of people to come to Israel. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we don't know his ways. It's some people make aliyah and then those same people, some people make aliyah and then they have to leave because of income, even if they're single. Some people make aliyah and they get to stay. Some people make aliyah and they stay despite the hardships and despite that they have no parnasa. Some people, I know people that made aliyah, they don't even leave Jerusalem, much less leave Israel. I know a guy who hasn't left Israel in like since he made aliyah in 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people desperately want to move to Israel, but they can't because, you know, I know a guy who wants to make aliyah, but only if he can live in the Waldorf Astoria. Because he's like I'm spoiled, dude. He's a big Kahanist. Big Kahanist. He loves the settlements, but he's like, I have to live in the Waldorf Astoria. And I can't afford to live there, so I'm not going to make Aliyah.
Yeah.
What? Like, what? Like, whatever. It's like different people. I don't know.
Listen,
Whatever.
I'd like to do a little bit of UFO stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Just very, very minimal, but I think
Yeah.
kind of potent, this one.
Okay.
I'm going to read a little bit about somebody named Christopher Mellon. Those of you who have been listening to us have heard that name several times, but I just wanted to, I'm going to read something from somebody named Christopher Mellon, but I just want people to appreciate who this guy is. Okay. Not that I'm a fan or anything. I'm just, it's important to understand a person's. I'm going to read you something that he said or wrote. You might as well know a little bit about his resume.
Yeah.
Okay, so this guy's name's Christopher Carl Mellon. He's an American former Department of Defense and United States Senate staff member whose career from 1985 to 2017 focused on defense and intelligence oversight. He is an advocate. Okay, so I'm just trying to find basically what, his highest station in the government, right? Mellon served since 1985 in various United States Senate staff positions on Capitol Hill, including a decade as a professional staffer of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence before joining the Department of Defense in 1997. In 2003, Mellon returned as a Senate staffer once more for the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. As a legislative assistant to William Cohen, Mellon participated in drafting the bill that created the United States Special Operations Command, SOCOM, in the National Defense Authorization Act for 1987. Cohen was approached by former Special Operations people seeking his help rebuilding the United States Special Operations Forces. Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, William G. Boykin, reported that Mellon encouraged Cohen to take a leading role in the effort. Okay. Let's go fast forward to his tenure in Department of Defense. When Cohen became United States Secretary of Defense in 1997, Mellon accompanied him to the Pentagon to join Cohen's transition team. Following the transition, Mellon became coordinator for advanced concepts and program integration in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, concentrating on encryption and information assurance issues. From November 1997 to June 1998, he was advisor to Cohen on intelligence issues as the special assistant to the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence Policy. Okay. Beginning in 1999, he served as a non-career political appointment in the Senior Executive Service as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. So that was his highest station. He was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. Okay. He was on top of the government. He had a lot to do with correcting some of the coordination issues that occurred during 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were complaining that this brand, like the FBI, wasn't sharing information with I'm not getting it right, but basically, he was trying to, he was trying to fix that. So he was a very, very, very high level official. He was Deputy Secretary of Defense for Intelligence.
Yeah.
And he's from the Mellon family, as in Carnegie Mellon, right? He's a deep stater. He's part of the aristocracy of the deep state aristocracy. And if you would imagine what a CIA guy looks like, that this is the guy. Can you show a picture of him, Christopher Mellon? Like, this guy looks like the guy who started the CIA. Like, this is the guy you're picturing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oops. 1 second. Yeah. Yeah, you can see him.
You know what I mean? Like, this is the guy that when you think like, there's this guy who started the CIA, right?
Yeah.
This is the guy that you're picturing. Just pick any picture. Yeah, maybe just click on that one. There you go. Is this not the ultimate CIA looking dude? Right?
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, so here's what he writes. And he's been he's probably been one of the primary use the word proponents for pushing transparency on the UFO issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's a serious government bureaucrat who was involved big time in the intelligence community and Washington politics. Okay, and he's from a prominent family, right? So, okay, so I'm going to read something. It says, Christopher Mellon, the world is not ready. He says the world is not ready for the truth about UFOs. That's what he said. So, former Pentagon official Christopher Mellon says that the world isn't ready for UFO disclosure, And what he revealed at a major UAP event might change everything. At a recent Seoul Foundation event, former top U.S. intelligence official Christopher Mellon made a chilling claim. He says the world is not ready for what the disclosure will reveal. Mellon has played a central role in modern UAP disclosure and isn't one for exaggerating, which is true. I read his stuff. It's like super dry, just, just the facts, ma'am, kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in a growing arena, in a growing arena of extraterrestrial interest, his warning isn't just dramatic, it may signal a shift from advocacy to urgency.
Yeah.
So who is he? By the way, he doesn't make statements very often either. You know what I mean? Like he has he'll write an essay or something like that. You try to read one of these essays, it's like reading a government report. It's like difficult. But anyway, he says the article says, who is Christopher Mellon? Mellon is a former Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under Presidents Clinton and Bush. Okay, especially during 9/11. He helped leak the 2017 Pentagon UFO videos to the New York Times. Mellon is a huge advocate for whistleblower protection and the long-term critic of the U.S. government's secrecy around UAPs. In a brand new video released June 4th on YouTube, I actually didn't watch this. It says, "We are not alone, a reflection of UAP and humanity's cosmic context." There are several profound, thought-provoking points to explore. The speech given at Scientific Organization for the Liberation of Knowledge on UAPs and related phenomena. This is an event that happened in May. It mentioned the discovery of exoplanets as compelling evidence that we're not alone. So Christopher Mellon says, billions of habitable planets likely exist, making it mathematically irrational to believe that we're alone. That's what Mellon said. This fits in with the idea that we may be under direct observation or having contact with, quote, another civilization far older and more advanced than our own, which has been reflected. That was a quote from him, which has been reflected recently in other places with alluring discoveries. And so, okay, fine. Notably, Mellon's experience in American special operations points to affirmations like military sightings, censored data, and pilot testimony that have been dialed up in the last couple of years. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm looking for his quotes. Okay. Mellon challenges the idea that the visitors must be biological. He proposes that advanced civilizations may send autonomous or self-replicating machines, right, like von Neumann probes, capable of enduring the vast timescales of interstellar travel. Okay. He writes, quote, "They may not be they at all. They may be AI explorers sent across vast stretches of space and time," right? Okay, so I'm looking for more quotes. Millions will binge Marvel. He writes, this is what he says about like people. He says that millions of people will binge on Marvel movies, right? But almost no one follows what's happening in real life, right? With all these whistleblowers and all this kind of stuff. He said this disclosure would upend worldviews, religious doctrine, and our place in the cosmos. Most simply aren't ready. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right. So he's never said anything so blatant before. Right. Like the world is not ready for what disclosure will reveal, that we're dealing with a far older civilization. Like he's usually the most reserved guy when it comes to making anything, any type of claims. So the fact that he's ramping up these statements is indicative of some kind of event that's expected. Again, folks, I'm not saying that I believe these people I'm not saying that I believe the narrative. I'm just looking at statements that come from the news and from Washington and from governments and from politicians, right? As indications of things that are gonna happen, events. Okay. Maybe we could play that clip because the news article comes with the clip.
Where's this?
I can send this to you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna send it to you by email
that's fine.
if you don't mind, and then we can end off on this if you want.
I mean, there's not much going on with this whole Iran thing.
Yeah.
Supposedly we're preparing to attack them. Supposedly we're preparing to retaliate, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't want to be too enthusiastic for like for war, for violence.
To me, it's like
I just want a resolution.
I want a resolution, and also I always, me and my friends always say, I have a friend who we made Aliyah at the same time. Actually, he was born in Israel, and we would always say, like, if something like this ever happened, we wouldn't want to watch it on CNN. We would want to be in Israel. We wouldn't want to watch stuff go on. I don't know. That's just
One of the reasons why I'm bringing this topic up right now, in the context of what we're expecting in Iran, I just thought, wouldn't it be amazing if they fired rockets, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then, like, finally, like, the armies of heaven appear, freezing them, preventing them, like perfect opportunity for wonders,
or at least they
wonders
would
and miracles.
or at least they would disable these whatever they have, like they disabled the
But
moms from the Air Force base,
but
or
in a
whatever.
very open, like this would be the opening for them to come and say, all right, enough, we're here, that's it. The world has changed like that. Not looking for death, folks, not looking for destruction.
No, not at all. Correct.
So you got it? You got the...
Oh, let me see. Yes, Cyber News, Melon. Here we go.
There's a clip embedded in the article.
Yeah. Let me find it. Oh, this YouTube thing. Okay, fine. I'll just open it separately. 1 second. We're not alone. Oh, this is from like that Project Unity channel. Is that what it is? Oh no, Disclosure Fund. Okay. Oh, what's his name is involved with that also? This Eric Davis guy. I was just looking at.
Forebears had gazed at the night skies, wondering if we are alone in the universe. Remarkably, a handful of early thinkers, including the Roman philosopher Lucretius and the Renaissance scholar Giordano Bruno, recognized that the cosmos must contain other worlds with intelligent beings. Writing nearly a century before Christ's birth, Lucretius stated, quote, "All this visible universe is not unique in nature, and we must believe there are in other regions of space, other worlds, other beings, and other men," end quote. Today, thanks to modern astronomy and the discovery of exoplanets, we know the sheer vastness of the cosmos makes the prospect of other inhabited worlds not only plausible, but a statistical certainty. One recent estimate concludes the odds we are alone in the universe are less than 1 chance in 10 billion trillion. Another recent estimate suggests that we share the Milky Way with over 10,000 alien civilizations, most far older and more advanced than us. In short, it seems inevitable that alien civilizations have arisen elsewhere and are as abundant, diverse, and sophisticated as anything imagined by the authors of science fiction. Consequently, although the title of this conference, "We Are Not Alone," may sound sensationalistic, it actually expresses a view shared by most astronomers. Distant alien life would be of purely theoretical interest if there was no prospect of interacting with these civilizations. However, there is a large and growing body of evidence indicating that at least one alien civilization has found Earth and is monitoring us, perhaps even seeking to influence the trajectory of our development. Reputable military accounts of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, UAP, date back to at least World War II. The historical data includes hundreds of thousands of documented UAP reports, many involving multiple witnesses and radar and other sensor data. U.S. fighter pilots have testified under oath before Congress about encounters with intelligently controlled vehicles demonstrating performance characteristics we do not understand and cannot emulate. There are military videos corroborating some of this testimony, as well as radar and signals intelligence data. In a refreshing act of candor, Dr. John Kozlowski, who presently leads the U.S. government's UAP investigation, recently stated, quote, "UAP are real. We've received 1,600 cases. These are interesting cases that, with my physics and engineering background, I do not understand, and I don't know anyone else who understands them either," end quote. It is important to recognize that the intelligence controlling these strange craft might not be biological. Dr. Stephen Dick, former NASA chief historian, is among those who believe artificial intelligence may be the dominant agent in vast regions of space. In the 1950s, the mathematical genius John von Neumann proposed the idea of self-replicating probes, a prescient example of one means by which technologically advanced civilizations could eventually extend their reach across an entire galaxy without the necessity of faster-than-light travel. In short, we most certainly aren't alone in the universe, and most likely aren't alone in the Milky Way. The crucial question, then, is whether there is a connection between the UAP we are detecting and any of the alien civilizations that have undoubtedly arisen on numerous occasions over billions of years elsewhere in the galaxy. In light of the compelling evidence that has emerged in recent years, many of us who study UAP are frustrated by the feeble mainstream press coverage of these issues and a regrettable lack of interest on the part of academia and most governments. It is, after all, hard to conceive of an issue with more profound or far-reaching implications. How many people today are aware that the U.S. government, confronted by evidence it could not deny, has reluctantly acknowledged the reality of UAP? How many are aware that decorated Navy aviators have testified under oath before Congress about encounters with vehicles they believe are of alien origin? How many people are aware that a former intelligence officer swore under oath in live testimony before Congress that the U.S. government has actually recovered non-human technology? Why isn't the public clamoring for more information regarding these sensational claims made by brave, highly educated, and reliable military personnel? What makes this situation even more ironic and surprising is the exceptional global popularity of fictional accounts of alien life. For example, the top 3 highest-grossing films of all time feature aliens. Today, Star Wars has some 16.8 million followers on Instagram, and Marvel Studios, which prominently features alien characters, has 69 million Instagram followers. By contrast, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, which investigates and catalogs UAP sightings and provides up-to-date UAP reports replete with photos and videos, has a mere 60,000 Instagram followers. The math shows that for each MUFON follower on Instagram, there are roughly 20,000 Marvel fans. This disparity between the public's insatiable appetite for fictional alien narratives and its relative disinterest in accounts of UAP is itself a fascinating topic. It demonstrates a keen public interest in alien themes, yet it remains a largely subliminal interest, perhaps due to the conscious mind's desire to avert what psychologists call, quote, cognitive dissonance. This awkward term describes a mechanism our minds employ to protect us from conflicting information that could cause debilitating stress and anxiety. It is not hard to see why conscious recognition of an alien presence would for many people prove anxiety-producing, disruptive, and difficult to reconcile with society's prevailing view of reality. Simply stated, the issue of UAP and aliens is not only subtle and complex, for many people it is also anxiety-producing and therefore exceptionally difficult to accept or to process. This, I would argue, is one of the greatest challenges we face in seeking to raise public awareness of the UAP topic and its implications. The problem is massively compounded by the unique and unprecedented obstacles involved in applying conventional scientific methods to studying UAP. Suffice it to say that never before in history have we studied anything that surpasses us in intelligence and technological development. In sum, no issue could be more profound or important, but in seeking to study the issue and raise public awareness, we are also faced with unique and unprecedented challenges.
Dude, you know what stresses me out? You mentioned things that stress out.
Yeah.
Mundane life.
Correct.
Nothing would excite me more than to see
Yeah.
what he's describing.
I know, we're asking for the Marshmallow Man.
Dear Lord.
That's what he's describing. Folks, if you only understood, by the way, that's the guy. I don't know if you've put it together. That's Christopher Mellon, the guy that the former Deputy Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. That's him. He was the guy who was just saying all that.
Yeah.
Crazy, what most people would consider that's madness.
Yeah.
And that's the most sober of all these guys. The fact that So to me, I mean, it's interesting what he said, and I've heard these are old ideas to me. Everything he said, I haven't learned anything. But the fact that he said it is what's most interesting to me.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So with this kind of stuff going mainstream right around 2025, 2026, 2027. Okay. And now you have Rabbi Weisberg, talking about the sages, the sages of Israel, right? And their statements, right? Torah, the Torah sages, right? And their statements about the process of Mashiach and the messianic timeline and the end, all of that's converging.
Yeah. Yes.
And the point of this podcast is kind of like, well, just point it out, be like, hey,
we're basically not, well, we're sound like you're curating, but we're documenting this convergence. We're creating we're like a Google Maps for this kind of thing, in a way. For those who are watching, at least. Listen,
I have this like strange memory from high school.
Yeah.
When I went to Sinai Academy.
Yeah.
And we're always cutting class, and there's like a street where there's like this little grocery store. You can buy chips and soda.
Yeah.
And there's this kid who I was walking with him, and then there's this other kid named Yofi. That was his last name. We just called him Yofi.
Yeah.
He was a nice kid, and he was like standing off the curb for some reason. And then there was like this delivery truck.
Yeah.
That was like pulling up, but he wasn't paying attention to it. And it looked like it was gonna like come, and it was approaching kind of it looked like it was slowing down, but we weren't sure. And then the kid I was with was like, Yofi, watch out. And he like turned around. He got scared by this giant truck, and we realized he was listening to music.
Yeah.
He didn't hear it. So that's basically what we're just, folks, we see, it looks like you're standing on the curb. We see a truck approaching, and we're just like, hey, you know what I mean?
And you're busy with bananas in your ears.
And there's this other time when I was walking on the beach in South Beach, and there's like a group of people standing in the shallows, and the water was kind of calm, right? They're just standing there like in knee-high water.
Yeah.
And there's like a little shark that just pulled up, just chilling there, like right next to the dude. I'm like, and they're just sitting there totally oblivious. I'm like, yo, he's like, I'm like, shark. He's like, and they come running out of the water. It's kind of like, I think that's partly what we're doing here. I don't want to make it seem like there's a shark approaching. Maybe those were not good examples.
We're trying to de-NPCify people. I don't know if
And
that's
ourselves,
I don't know if that,
while we're
yes.
trying to de-NPC
Correct.
ourselves.
Correct. Yes.
All right, so let's take one last look at the.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
Is it demeaning they call it a feed?
Yeah, they're feeding you. It's like a feed.
No, like what feed is? Like fill the troughs for the animal
I know.
feed.
Yeah. See, so Israel appears to be preparing to launch an attack. This is nothing new from New York Times. Soon on Iran. Yeah. There's nothing. There's nothing new. I mean, it's morning in Israel now. So I don't know if they haven't done it now. It's not going to happen today.
It's nice. Craig Kelly shared my brother's video,
Very
but
cool.
this time he used my posting.
Very nice.
Which is a screenshot of your
Craig Kelly, the guy in Australia,
the Australian politician.
Yeah. Well, at least that's good. Dude, you saw what RFK did. He appointed. I mean, you saw this. I posted it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Malone and all these people. Yeah. Whatever.
I don't even know what is that board of. What is that?
It's a board that used to be the people that recommend vaccines. So now he replaced people who used to recommend vaccines with people who largely do not. Or if they do, they're definitely not recommending mRNA. And if they're recommending any vaccine, they're recommending like 1 or 2 as opposed to 75,000. Or I don't know, as opposed to making your child look like Hellraiser. Okay? It's you ever see that meme that they show how many needles go?
A pin cushion.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So even if it's not 72 and it's 29, okay, it's not enough for you? He said it was RFK 75 or 72. They're like, oh, it's not 72, it's like 25. Oh, wow. Oh, is that all? Absolutely insane.
Folks, just think about it rationally, just for a moment. You're a living being, an organic. Your body is an organic organism. You want to believe in evolution? Okay, fine. So for those who believe in evolution, that means your body evolved to exist in this state, but now you can't exist without vaccines only for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
A little more than that.
Well, they're going to make the argument, you see, life expectancy
live.
went up since we came out with vaccines, and before life expectancy was down, and then now it's up, and all this, whatever, stuff.
So stupid.
Yeah, I know.
I really got to wonder, how would I be? My health, my cognitive functioning, just my general physical health. How would I be had I not been shot? Just filled up with that garbage as a baby.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I'll never get a chance to know what I could have been.
Yep.
So already then, nice light dinner conversation.
Yes. Well, as always.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We're gonna catch you on the flip side, and hopefully the next time we speak, something will be resolved.
A resolution, right?
Yes. God willing. Stay safe out there.
Yep.
Peace out.